Game begin.
Hello, Michael J.
Hey there, how you doing?
How was Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good. Um, I had two Thanksgivings. Then I went to Cocoduck yesterday, and I didn't pay. It's the sickest. You ever been to Cocoduck?
No, that's the caviar chicken finger place,
Yeah.
right? Did you get the caviar chicken fingers?
No, we just got just the Korean fried chicken is $45, $46 a head. They get you for the extra fucking dollar. So if you go, everyone has to opt in. It's $46 a head. It's not that much. You get I guess you get like four pieces of Korean fried chicken each, but they're not that big. It's a wing or whatever. It's pretty expensive. They give you a they give you a tiny little shot glass of the best chicken consomme I've ever had. It's just fucking broth. It's absolutely fantastic.
That sounds
And then
amazing.
the noodle, they give you a tiny little thing of noodles. Clark said it was his favorite thing that we had. And then we added a piece of chicken. And you can get like a chicken nugget for $3.50 each, but nobody does that because the ones that people get are like, depending on the grade of the chicken nugget, could be up to I think like $130 for one chicken nugget. It's like fucking insane. So
Oh,
it's like
well,
high grade caviar covered in gold. Anyway, I didn't pay. It was sick, so I went to Coconut yesterday. Um, and then yeah,
I'll have to.
uh, I'm sorry I
Uh,
missed your thing.
oh,
You
it's
had
all
me at
good.
prime rib, but I was even in Queens actually. I had a Manhattan Thanksgiving, ate some chocolate pie. Then I had Queens Thanksgiving, and we had pies from Cora Bakery.
Yeah.
Speaking of
So,
Cora Bakery,
oh, I was just gonna pivot to prime rib, but you can finish your thought.
yeah, you're gonna. I mean, you live in Queens. I'm sure you've gone to Cora Bakery.
I haven't. I don't know it.
It's on all the top five lists. But you know what's on consistently like top three and all like the top five lists is Pog's Mom's Bakery. It is like we should go there sometime.
Yeah, the
It's like number
scones.
one on like
Yeah.
it's literally on like every freaking list. And I mean I can't believe how
What's the
insane
shout it out for the pod? What's the name of the bakery for Pog?
Mario's
Is that Mary O? Like Mary O?
Mary space
Mary O's
O.
Scones, Irish
Yep.
soda bread shop. Very like just one of those like classic New York businesses, Guinness sign in the because it's also a pub, right?
No, so she had a pub.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and they closed down because of COVID, right? So over COVID, she's just like, yo, I got to feed my family or whatever. So she's just like, I think I'm gonna bake some scones and like do mail order, and she got on
So
Humans of New
soda
York.
bread, Irish soda bread shop.
Yeah.
It's a
So she got on Humans of New York, right? And then she got a TV spot, right? And as a result of the TV spot, she got something like 200,000 orders. And like she's still fulfilling these orders. Like, because there's so many orders, right? So she's like, oh, maybe I should make a scone shop. And they're only open 3 days a week and they close by noon because they sell out. She makes every scone herself. I've argued with Pog about this so
like
many
have to
times.
bring somebody in to make the scones. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like it's this wildly successful business, right? He's only open 3 days a week. Pog has to work, like 4 in the morning until close, which is like noon or whatever. And they close because they run out of scones, right? Not
yeah.
because
They just can't keep enough scones in the house
because
to
she
yeah.
makes every scone, right? And I'm like, someone else could make the scone, and he's like, you don't understand like the quality of making the scones. And I'm like, bro, I believe your mom is the best scone maker in New York City. I believe she might be the best scone maker, but you could like double the business and have like a 98th percentile scone. Like it's just following a recipe. She's not like Michael Jordan. Like her execution is not predicated on luck and timing, right? Like
This was
it's
the
it's a recipe, like
I mean
it won't be as good as hers. I'm not saying she's not the best. I'm
that,
saying you can scale.
yeah, that was the God, I forget what like documentary on which pizza shop in New York, but like one of the pizza shops in New York, like the original owner, he's like he has to like cut the basil onto each slice of pizza. Like he has to be the one to do it. Was his
I
like
mean,
whole thing.
Larry and what's his name? Sergey and Larry used to vet every single person who got hired at Google, every single one, which is why the why the hiring took so long for a long time. But they're not even in charge anymore. But like maybe up till 15
Yeah,
years ago, they were
yeah. I
vetting
mean,
every single employee.
not that we're gonna become like a
Like a
CEO
top
pod.
7 company.
It's not that we're gonna become a CEO podcast or anything, but like this is the arc of the startup, right? Where first like the CEO has to like do everything, and then they have to like delegate, and then I don't know, maybe they turn around and do everything again. But you should listen to the podcast I edit as my job, the Cheeky Pint podcast by Stripe. Quick plug. This podcast is this not the Spy Colony, but Cheeky Pint podcast has been putting food on my table for the last few months.
Nice.
If you're into tech CEOs and whatnot, but we are
Let's
not into tech
let's
CEOs here on the Spy Colony podcast. I want to talk
let's
still about not Premodern.
wait. Let me just plug
Okay.
this thing. Right, I'm starting an agency. So if you want to hire literally the best media buyer.
Oh, so we're doing
you can
personal
hire me.
plugs.
So no, so
Black Friday
I'm just, like,
deals on
Yeah,
podcast editing and SEOing,
Yeah, so, like,
CMOing.
I got laid off in May, and I had like some contracts, so like just side gigs. So I just haven't really looked for another CMO job or whatever. And so I was working with this woman at this other company, and she's just like, "Don't get a job. Let's just start an agency." She's like, "You're like literally the best media buyer on earth." And so my wife, said to me, and she's just like, "I've made so many fortunes for other people. And I don't even know if I can count on one hand how many fortunes I made for other people." All right. She's like, "Why don't you just have your own business?" And I saw like an Instagram, and this guy is just like, "Yeah, if you want to really be wealthy in the United States, you actually have to own a thing." And when I had like a drop of money, it was as a result of selling. I mean, I owned like 0.1% of a business that sold for quite a bit of money. So, I didn't work for 3 years. But anyway, yeah, so I'm starting an agency, and we're just undercutting the market. That's like kind of what we're doing. Like, how can you keep your costs so low? And I'm like, I only want to have like 8 clients. It's like I want to do everything myself. Like ramping a client is actually kind of hard.
You want to make the scones.
No, I just don't want to have overhead, right? So the thing is like,
Well, maybe Pog's mom doesn't want overhead.
Yeah, but it's different. Like I can scale laterally in a way that a place that requires like an oven in a physical location can't. Right?
You can make an AI clone of yourself.
No, I could just like not. I mean, my whole thing is I think we want to do stuff that's built by humans. So I think that what we're going to do as a marketing push is I'm going to do a narrative podcast. So it's going to be a podcast about marketing, but it's going to have like the form of a true crime podcast. Like our podcast is like two friends talking, right? Like most of the podcasts I've been involved in are two friends talking. Even and to paraphrase, Noah,
there's podcasts out there where there's like a narrator and like interview bites where it's just like,
But I was thinking, I think I'm going to do it like seasonal, like maybe this be 6 episodes instead of like every week or whatever. And then I think people will like it. But I guess like the greatest podcast of all time, according to Noah, is AR. And that's not really two friends talking. That's like me reading an article, right? So, and then I guess two friends talking.
It's kind of hard to, I mean, AR is basically like the rewatchables. Basically, you just like go back and revisit a like piece of culture that you love, and then they just all happen to be Magic the Gathering articles. Speaking of revisiting culture that we love, we had a conversation a few weeks ago about this Naya lightsaber deck, and I wanted to talk about the Naya lightsaber deck today, just because I thought this conversation was so weird.
The apex of my deck design career.
Well, you
World Championship winning Naya lightsaber.
You can't build a better deck than one that wins the World Champs, right? Like, there's no higher accomplishment in Magic.
So it was so good. He played it also in extended with the better
with Fetch Shock.
Yeah, so he had Fetch Shock, but it was the same deck.
Let's start. Let's start. Charm. Yeah. Let's start from the very beginning. It is 2009. What month of is it? What season of 2009 is it?
Winter.
It's winter of 2009. World's Rome. Tell us about what cards, sets, decks. What's happening in 2009 Standard?
The best deck in Standard by popularity was Jund, just like the most vanilla Jund. Putrid Leech.
Putrid Leech is a 2/2 that pumps to a 4/4 for life.
once a turn. So if you get
Yeah.
bolted in response, you get ow. You get
Sprouting
stung. Sprouting
Thrinax is a
Threnax,
3/3 that turns into 1/1s if it dies. Blightning shouldn't
Maelstrom
have.
Pulse.
Yeah. Maelstrom Pulse to
So
Vindicate. Yeah.
so Joey Pasco, who is one half of UMTG
Oh,
Taps,
sorry.
good
Before we go, move on. Broodmate Dragon, the
yeah.
most important card. It's 2/4/4s.
So
it's two four four flyers
I made the
or
Jundram deck the
6.
previous year, but nobody played it except for Andre Coimbra. So me and Andre Coimbra are the only people who played it the previous year, and he did badly in Portuguese nationals. And the joke when he won the World Championships was, I still trusted Mike, even though I went like 0-6 in Portuguese nationals with his Jund deck. So I was like the first person to play Broodmate Dragon. Anyway, the context was there's all these creatures like Bloodbraid Elf and Sprouting Thrynax and Broodmate Dragon that were very good against removal, right? So like if you have like a 3/2 haste and the other guy's like Wrath of God, that's like a bad matchup, right? Like if
Yeah.
you have like Sprouting Thrynax, the other guy is
The,
like,
the removal is Pass to Exile, Lightning Bolt, Burst Lightning.
oh, you're talking about in my deck.
Well, in decks, and then you have
I'm just talking about
Terminate.
like
You have
in the
Terminate.
format, yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah. You have Terminate,
so
Bituminous Blast. You have Maelstrom Pulse.
Wrath of, I mean, whatever, a Day
Wrath
of
of God.
Judgment or something
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah. The
legal.
Wrath of God
So
type stuff.
Jace the Mind Sculptor was not yet legal.
There's like is there supposed to be a blue black deck in this metagame too? With like, I don't know. There's like Disfigure. Oh, Tendrils of Corruption. It's just a corrupt for creatures at instant. Pretty cool.
So the problem with the format was the most popular deck, which was Jund, had Sprouting Thrynax, Bloodbraid Elf, and Broodmate Dragon. And all of these cards are very good against removal, right? So start there. That's like part A. And the joke, this is the biggest joke, was Joey Pasco, who is one half of UMTG Tap. Back then, Joey was my broadcast partner in the Star City Opens a lot, and a good friend of mine, still a friend of mine. He has really hot sisters who were like Baltimore Ravens cheerleaders, right? And I'm like, Joey, anyone ever tell you that your sisters are hot? And he goes, Mike, anyone ever Bloodbraid Elf into a Lightning? So like that was like the joke. Like, anyone ever Bloodbraid Elf into a Lightning? That's all anyone ever did. Okay, so I was tell Joey that his sisters were hot. Anyway, so there was no blue-white control in the format, although I think there was actually one in the top 8 of Worlds that year. But no one played blue-white control because like Wrath of God type cards, Path to Exile type cards were a disaster in a format where like the default creatures were like, kill this thing, you get 3 creatures. This thing is a 3/2 haste, it gets value on the way in, or there's 2 dragons, right? So no one played removal. So that's where you start. So one day I was recording the Top 8 Magic podcast, and I really wanted to play with this new Planeswalker. I think it was like named Nissa, that like gets 2/3 Elf Warriors out of your deck. Like that's the thing that she does. And then like you get like, and then her ultimate is you get a bunch of elves, and I'm like, oh, you could get Bloodbraid Elf. That's an elf too. So I worked so hard to like make this Nissa theme, get all these elves. Like I'm brewing elves onto the battlefield. And this deck sucks, right? So then I'm like, the problem with this deck is I'm trying to make all these cards good. But like some of the cards are good, like Bloodbraid Elf is good, but it's not that good if it's all you're doing is flipping over a stupid 2/3 elf. And now I have this 2/3 elf not in my deck, so I can't even get it with Nissa anymore. This sucks, right? So this all sucks, right? Because these cards aren't good. So I'm just gonna take the 10 best cards in Standard, and I took the 10 best cards in Standard that weren't Blightning, because Blightning wasn't in my colors, and I just put them in a deck, right? So I'm just like, these are the best cards, and my focal point was, if Bloodbraid Elf is consensus the best card in Standard, what does that make Ranger of Eos? Because Ranger of Eos is also a 3/2, but instead of getting 1 extra card, I guess it's 2 extra cards, one of which is a Black Lotus, is how Patrick would say it, right? I just get 2 cards, right? So I'm like, oh wait, if I just played 8 Bloodbraid Elves, what happens here? And so my trick was, because no one else was playing like Wrath of God, I could just play good creatures. So like no one was playing people. Like if you look at the next Pro Tour, the Jund decks didn't even play Terminate because it's so bad against Sprouting Thrynax and Bloodbraid Elf and Broodmate Dragon. They just play like a bigger thing. Or Bituminous Blast, I think it only does 4 damage. So I'm like, what stops you from just casting a Baneslayer Angel? no one's gonna kill it, right? So I just picked like the 10 best cards, doubled up the Bloodbraid Elf count with Ranger of Eos, and then put like a Scute Mob as the extra finisher in my deck because I needed fuel for my Ranger of Eos, and then that deck won the World Championship. We don't have to talk about the mana base; it's been discussed at length.
No, we should talk about the. This is the
among
story.
the greatest mana bases ever built.
We have to talk about the mana
really
base.
Good.
Okay,
there's a whole chapter in Kevin Chapin's book
quick
about
aside,
how great
quick
this
aside,
mana base is.
quick aside. Why is it called Lightsaber?
Okay, so there's an evolution of Naya decks. I can't remember what the first two were called, but one of them was called like Naya Excalibur, which was played by Jacob Van Lunen at U.S. Nationals the previous year.
Notably a Premodern player.
Yeah.
Jacob
so
Van Lunen.
Brian Coal and Jacob Van Lunen made Naya Excalibur, which is very similar to Naya Lightsaber, but had, I would argue, a better mana base because they had a different array of dual lands that could trigger each other in a way that mine couldn't. But it was not a dissimilar deck. And BK always ribs me. It's just like, you stole my deck idea and won the world championship with it. I'm like, good artists borrow, great artists steal. But it was really a context thing. But yeah, so that's why it's called.
I mean, we've got pre-modern vibes going on here, right? Yeah, where we have fetch lands that can only get basics in this format, and they're the enemy fetches.
So, like a lot of people like try to put work. I think Channel Fireball played a similar deck the next Pro Tour, where they had access to, what's the name of the band card? I can't remember. It's like 1/2 for 2. It's a squire.
Oh, Deathrite Shaman. Yeah.
No, it's 1/2 for 2, but it gets an equipment.
Oh, Stoneforge.
Yeah. So they could build their own Baneslayer by getting
Batterskull.
Yeah. So, but then I think they added their mana base was not so much better than mine.
Okay, so let's give the context. I know the context you're talking about. Let's give the context to the listeners because this begins your long-standing beef with Frank Karsten. Because he says
my long-standing beef with Frank Karsten started years earlier before this.
Okay, fair enough. All right,
so,
then
to be clear,
this was just a chapter in the beef with Frank Karsten.
To be clear, first of all, Frank and I like each other just fine, right? But it's so hilarious, long-standing beef. I had a column on the mothership called Swimming with Sharks, I think. It had a bunch of names over time. And then Frank started a column that was based on like just MTGO decks, like MTGO data and stuff. And they had like a lot of crossover, right? So I think my column was much more paper and his column was much more online, but it's really the same format. I think that people had an idea because of how Frank writes versus how I write, right? That
this is a early math is dead versus math related beef.
So like, I'm writing stories, right? I've always just written stories, right? Like, this is how you would lay out a matchup, and this is how you play the end game. And Frank's just like, these are the numbers that go next to these decks. And there's one has a 0.7 next to it, and this one has a 0.6 next to it, right? Like, so some people are really gravitating towards this, and so it was kind of a beef is the wrong word, but because they were paying both of us. But the reality is, like, we probably didn't need both columns. I had the Shark column that Frank was just writing about MTGO, but I don't think there was really casual MTGO standard cues, right? Like, it's not a thing, right? So, so there's a lot of crossover, and the other thing about it was this was an era, maybe a little bit earlier than this, maybe 2006, not 2009. Every deck was Flores. So there's Flores blue, Flores red, like every deck was Flores. And I never named any of the decks Flores. Like, I would name a deck Jushi blue, but people would be like, Flores blue, right? I would name a deck Critical Mass, and that was what it was called, right? But everything was Flores. I made a lot of decks back then, right? So people say, oh, Flores this, Flores this. And if you look at the forums at the time, people were like, Mike Flores has an unbreakable stranglehold over the metagame. It's the kind of things that people would say. And I'm like, yeah, I do. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do not deny it.
Let me tell you, I wasn't like discouraging this. Like, I'm not a saint in this story. Okay, let's not pretend. But I wasn't calling things Flores. I was letting my tens of thousands of fans do it for me, right? And I had some Muppet accounts and forums that were stirring up the pot. Like, I loved doing that shit back then. Anyway, so then for fun, for fun. I made this really great land destruction deck when Cold Snap came out. It was like really good. It was like Oran Viper and Scrying Sheets. And then like the thing that was cool about it is you could win by land destructioning them. But then like it never like land destruction sucks, so you never really won that way. So then like what would you do is go into the mid game and then like you would draw with Scrying Sheets, and then like you would win in the late game by like uncounterable demon firing people, right? And like I got like so zen. I got in the zone. I was just like beating like the best deck. Like Frank declared the best deck Estonian colors. There was no word for Esper then, right? So just like Estonian colors is the best deck, and it like was winning all of like these black, blue, white, was winning like all these online things, was winning like all these European championships, Estonian colors, Estonian colors. I was crushing Estonian colors online with my red green land destruction deck. So Jeroen Remy, who is a Dutch Pro Tour champion, you know, much like Frank is from over there, like was playing it and stuff. So I'm like, all right, as a lark, instead of calling this Flores Land Destruction, which is what like the natural name was, I'm gonna call it Karsten Bot Baby Killer. So everything was called Karsten Bot Baby Killer, and like that's like a joke because people would say like something bot, like yeah, I don't know, like there like one of my apprentices was called like Manning Bot. So after Chris Manning, I don't. And anyway, people would say bot. So then, if the deck became so popular, Frank, and it was like ranking in MTGO, Frank had to write an article about it, and so he wrote this article called "My Baby Killer, comma Part 1." Which is a play on an old Zvi Mauschewitz article called My Fires. And Zvi just wrote this My Fires series about fires of Yavimaya that was like 17 episodes long about like a 60 card standard deck. It's like My Fires Part 2, My Fires Part 3. And it's just like, this is why we played Assault Battery. Here's like 1,500 words on Chimeric Idol. So the apex of my influencer status in 2006 was Frank Karsten being forced to write an article called "My Baby Killer, comma Part 1." Anyway,
right. and then Frank Karsten, flash forward, Frank Karsten calls Naya Lightsaber the worst deck to ever win.
I mean, he got me back, but you got to admit I got him good. He had to write about the deck, right? Like that's the thing, right? The deck was so good, he could not write about it. And it was known to be called Karsten Bot Baby Killer.
I'll have to look this up on my own time, but that sounds like a great time. It sounds like everybody.
That's like layers upon layers. You can't do that anymore. Now they just make all the decks and they put Spider-Man in them.
No. Unfortunately, when you Google Karsten Baby Killer, it just says Karsten Smith was arrested and charged with aggravated.
Karsten.
I know.
Karsten
I did. I've pulled up an MTG Salvation link to this deck, but Naya Lightsaber, worst deck to ever win a major.
Worst deck to ever win a Pro Tour.
No.
There's certainly been worse decks to have won like a Grand Prix. Come on.
Right. But
I think he said it was worst deck to ever win a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
No. I think he said Ole's deck is the worst deck to ever win a Pro Tour.
In any case, this is mostly hinged upon the fact that you have 4 Noble Hierarch, 4 Wild Nicodle, and then 4 ways to cast them on turn 1.
Yeah, but like there are like 5 drops in this deck.
Well, I understand. Tell me what you tell me what tell the listeners what you told me about how this is the perfect mana base and why.
Okay, so going into the finals, I can't remember because Zach Hillwork was on this team also. So Zach's also a friend of ours, and so I'm fighting with Zach. He's just like, "There's no way your deck should have beaten our deck." And I think it was Marin Leber is who was playing against Andre Coimbra in the top 4, and they do the pre-match interview with Marin, and he's just like, "How could I possibly respect that deck? It doesn't even have Jungle Shrine." So Jungle Shrine is the Naya Tri-land. And I'm like laughing when I read this. And then, of course, Andre 3-0s him. Just absolutely destroys him. And so in the post-match, after Andre won the Pro Tour and won the World Championships, Randy Buehler's like swinging his arms around. He's going, whoosh, 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 just like, "Here comes Mike Flores' Naya Lightsaber deck, killing the Sith Jund Dex. I'm like, that's not why it's called lightsaber, bro.
It's,
It's an
God damn
evolution of
it.
weapons. It was an Excalibur. Lightsaber is better than Excalibur. That's why it's called that. There was a previous Naya deck, like Naya Slingshot or something, right? And then there's like Naya Excalibur, and then this was the next evolution. We
Yeah.
don't even need steel anymore. Now we just use lasers. Anyway, rock and roll killed all the Jundex. I think
Why
he
is
sowed the Jundex in the.
why
in
is
the
Triland not good in this deck?
So you don't need doubles on a lot of the cards, right? So Great Sable Stag, you need doubles, but that's not even in the main deck. And also you just get it for free, so it doesn't matter.
Double pip, yeah.
You don't need doubles. So singles is good enough. And you don't need your stuff on turn 1. But if you get it on turn 1, it's a free roll. So that's what people don't get. They're like, you only have 10 sources of this, right? Like it's
four sources.
Yeah, so sure, whatever.
4 basic forest. No fetch land.
Manny, it's been 16 years. I don't remember the exact deck list. Okay, I don't remember how many islands are in my Dreadnought deck that I played 3 weeks ago.
16, Mike. Yes, you do.
I do. Okay, so but I don't remember the exact time. But so people don't get that. Just like Wildly Cattle on turn 1 isn't a good card. It's like a 1/1 for 1 with no ability.
Yeah, you gotta run uphill because like on turn 2 it might be a 2/2. On turn 3 it might be a 3/3.
No one is impressed by that, right? So they're like, oh, your deck doesn't have this many sources of this. How could you ever afford to do this? I'm like, that's not how the deck works, right? Like if you get first turn Noble Hierarch, it's sweet. Sometimes you have second turn Woolly Thoctor. Nobody beats that draw, by the way, right? Like,
oh yeah, this is what I was stopping you on because you're like turn 2 Woolly Thoctor. 1, it's a 3-card parlay. You only have 4 copies of each card. 2. Oh no, it's like a 4-card parlay because then you need the red source on turn 2 to come into play untapped. And if the red source
like Forest Rootbound Crag,
Forest Rootbound Crag has to be or Arid Mesa. You have Arid Mesa, so
yeah, you're good.
So Woolly Thoctor is RGW 5/4 vanilla. And I was like looking at this deck and I'm like, yeah, that's like pretty sick, turn 2 Woolly Thoctor. And I'm like, I scoot over to the next deck and I'm just like, the other deck has Putrid Leech, which is a 2-mana 4/4. I'm like, how is Woolly Thoctor ever good if your opponent has a Putrid Leech on the battlefield? So you're like Hierarch Woolly Thoctor.
It's 6/5 on attack.
Yeah, because you had the Noble Hierarch to cast on turn 2.
So they can't do it anyway. And second of all, even if it's not 6/5, you attack into their 2/2. And they block and they go for. Are they going to go for a pump into your open red, open white? Like our deck is the only deck with removal.
My Broodmage Dragon deck in this world is very, very happy to get stuff Path to Exiled. Like that would have been my analysis. It's just like, please Path to Exile.
You can't take the damage. The problem is Naya is the beatdown and also has more card advantage. You cannot take the damage.
All right, so.
Like when Baneslayer Angel hits the battlefield, it's not going anywhere. Your removal is Bituminous Blast, and you can't damage it. It just kills you.
Right.
So this
is where
randomly take 4 damage, and they make 2 plays the next turn.
This is where it's important to move on to the next part of our conversation about this, which is your sideboard is 4 Celestial Purge, 4 Great Sable Stag. Celestial Purge is just exile black or red, which astute viewers would notice is every permanent in the Jund deck
is black or red.
Secondly, you have Great Sable Stag, which is can't be countered, pro blue and black. And then for fun, you've got 4 Goblin Ruin Blaster, which is just a Avalanche
Those all
Rider.
came in because the Jund mana base is a disaster.
Right, you're just getting their Savage Lands.
Yeah, their Savage Lands.
And then you're super hype, right?
And also we have so you go like Ruin Blaster into a Johnny and like keep their other land tapped, and they could leave them Mountain or something, right? They don't even have Lightning Bolt in their deck, right? Like their deck is all forecasting cost like gold spells. You just literally lock them out of 2 colors. So
right. And when they were sideboarding, they had nothing against you. And so my take was just like, okay, it sounds like you just built a deck with 12 sideboard cards that were like really good against the most popular deck in the format.
It won the world championship,
and you
Lanny.
brute forced it through. And my second comment was like, wait, why doesn't your deck also just splash Broodmate Dragon? Because I'm like looking at this Broodmate Dragon card and I'm just like, nothing is good against this card. I'm like, except for Baneslayer Angel. So you could just have a deck that had Baneslayer Angel. So you could have 8 Blood Braids and 8 dragons, angels and dragons. But the Jund deck didn't even play 4 dragons,
Yeah,
I guess.
but
So
you had to make some concessions, right? Like if you were going to build a deck that way, you probably play rampant growth. But I didn't want to play rampant growth because I needed to play Noble Hierarch because Noble Hierarch is the best one drop,
yeah, and
right? So like
you're grabbing 1 drops with Ranger
you
of
have to
Eos.
get
Yeah,
one drops with Ranger of Eos. So like one thing that you will often do is like you play a mid game Ranger of Eos, get two Noble Hierarchs, put them in play, and then attack. And now your Bloodbraid Elf is like 6 power,
right.
right? Like your opponent can't even like eat a dragon now, right? So like people don't get it. Like if you're playing the first turn Noble Hierarch, that's a free roll. That's awesome, but that's not what the deck is predicated on. The deck is predicated on having more card advantage and have the opponents not having have any removal, right? So like if you just look at the decks, they just don't have any removal in this era. Like they have a small amount of removal, but if you think about like a Jund deck, you'd expect them to have like 4 Terminate, four Lightning Bolt. They
Right.
don't. None of them
You're
have 4.
you're actually kind of exploiting the Jund deck having. I mean, 2 Terminate, 3 Maelstrom Pulse is gonna get a Baneslayer, but the Exalted thing is super interesting because this is like one of those weird. This was like a. I didn't play this limited, but people say like Zendikar Limited was the fastest limited of all time, right? Because you had landfall,
Because of all the
which meant
landfall,
that
yeah.
you could only attack. You can't block if your guy's a 0/1 on your turn on their turn and a 2/3 on their turn. But that's kind of the same effect when you have Noble Hierarch, which is just like your Jund deck is kind of cool because you have Putrid Leech and Sprouting Thoranax and everything. But like, yeah, if your Woolly Thoctor is like not interested in blocking and is just going to attack every turn. But even then I'm looking at this deck. I'm like, okay, well, can't I just block it 4 times with my Sprouting Thoranax?
I mean, you're gonna get raced. The problem is you just at some point you get overwhelmed because the other deck has Baneslayer.
It's yeah, you just have better card quality up
Right,
up
so
and down the curve. You have
so
8
the
Blood Braids. Is Blightning not? I mean, I guess Blightning's not good
Lightning is
against.
exceptional, right?
But is it good? It's not
not
good
a
if
high
your
color.
deck has if you've cast a Ranger of Eos, then Blightning looks a lot worse now.
Yeah. Also, it's like this is basically off the top rope. Like outside of this deck has a lot of card advantage, but outside of Ranger of Eos, the cards aren't being put into your hand, right? Like Bloodbraid Elf casts the card immediately. A Johnny and Goblin Ruin Blaster affect the battlefield, right? Like it's not that the card advantage is not card drawing except for Ranger of Eos.
So so you kind of just had the trump on the Jund deck. Do you think there's anything the Jund deck could have done this is also just old Magic, right? So the Jund deck just doesn't know about your deck at all.
Well, first of all, this is a new deck. No one had ever played it before,
Right.
right? So
Like
I had played it on-
there's another Naya deck in the top 8 piloted by Terry So, and this is like a burn deck with like Goblin Guide. It's like a burn zoo deck. It has Woolly Thoctor, it has Ranger of Eos. It just doesn't have Baneslayer. It's like playing 4 Sable Stag main. So it's got the Baneslayers in the sideboard, but it's got pump spells. It has Colossal Might.
the Baneslayer is so good. Andre played the same deck in Extended and went undefeated in Extended. That's how he locked up.
Could your deck have played Ancient Ziggurat?
Probably not because we have. So one of the things that my deck was good at was we had a Johnny Vengeant, Lightning Bolt, Burst Lightning, and Path to Exile. So we could 2-spell. So like being able to so this was the dawn of what was called Battle Cruiser Magic, right? So I coined this around that time, which was like before this time period, there weren't what I would call battle cruisers, which was like you played a big spell, right? Like and like there was other things going on, and then somebody casts a big spell. In previous eras, decks that had big spells, those big spells were like Natural Order, Verdant Force, Time Spiral, right? Like the decks revolved around the big spell. Does that make any sense? Like this is just like everyone's playing Magic, and then
I kind of just
changes the conception of the game.
Yeah, I kind of understand this as just like the point in which permanents became more powerful than
Yeah.
spells and magic. Yeah.
So, but what this deck could do that other decks couldn't, that was an event, which is also like a slight decline in power level, but an increase in card quality, is that we could two spell, right? So imagine you have 5 land in play and you have a Bituminous Blast. Well, that's pretty good, right? But you have 5 land in play and your play is a Bloodbraid Elf. You're only going to make one play that turn. But if I have 5 land in play and I go like Ranger VO Scoop Mob, you have to remove my Scoop Mob or it will kill you next turn, right? Like, or I can go like my Bloodbraid Elf, bolt your Bloodbraid Elf, get in for 3. Like the fact that I can two spell is like contextually very good. Versus decks that like a substantial amount of card advantage on the battlefield, but their card advantage only triggers if you give it to them, right? Like if you Celestial Purge a Sprouting Thrinax, it doesn't make any tokens, for example, right? But like I don't know, Andre just like double Celestial Purged both Broodmate Dragons a bunch and then just got in with Scoop Mob and Ranger Revios, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, he was just too much good stuff in his deck, and like sideboarded into like, it was almost an embarrassment of riches, right? So if you're gonna bring in 12 cards, like what do you even sideboard out? You kind of like everything. You just board out Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I wrote a sideboard guide and I was watching one of the matches live, and it was evident to me that Andre had sideboarded completely different than the sideboard guide I'd given him. And then I talked to him afterwards. It was, I think, his top 8 match against a red white Goblin Bushwhacker deck. And he had figured out in game 2 that his opponent had transformed into a red white mid range deck. So he sideboarded completely different than how I said to sideboard. I was just like, oh no, we're gonna be like, it's like we're gonna gear to this. We're gonna who's the beat down him and then finish with Baneslayer Angels. But the other guy had actually sided in Baneslayer Angels and pathed all of Andre's Baneslayer Angels in one of the games. It's like, oh shit, I can't sideboard like Mike said. Like I can't let him out mid range me. Basically,
right. You have to keep some of the value in your deck.
But I honestly don't remember, Lanny, what the
fair enough. So this is I don't know why the story there was. It's fun to look at the story from multiple angles, because I think maybe the uncharitable version of it is like, well, you had 12 excellent sideboard cards, but or also like, I don't know, how did Andre do in limited? Right? It's always like
he went undefeated in limited and went undefeated in extended.
Okay.
He went 4-2 on day 1.
Right. Okay. So tell me about the format of World. Like, just quick refresher. What's format of Worlds in 2009?
Day 1 was standard. Andre went 4-2. Yeah. Day 2 was limited. He went undefeated.
How many matches of limited?
I think it was 6, and 6.
2 drafts. Yeah.
And then he went undefeated in extended. He didn't have to play all the rounds in extended. I think he went 4.
Because you so and Worlds at the time is like, how many players play in Worlds? 409. I have it here. 409. But you got Worlds invites by being like finishing well on the PT. Could you get to Worlds on points?
You could get to Worlds on points, finishing well on the PT, and being on your national team. So
yeah.
Worlds actually bigger than Pro Tour because national team members got in.
Right. Okay. Did it make it? I mean, so what? Was there any thinking that maybe like this deck only had to play 9 rounds, and it just kind of got paired against a lot of Jund? Was there like?
So I will tell you, this is the most Mike Flores story of all the Mike Flores stories you're saying. So I tell you, I made this Nissa deck, right? So I played the Jund deck. I made the Naya deck. After I don't like the Nissa deck, I made the Naya deck one night. I go undefeated on MTGO. I think I won 10 matches in a row, right? So with sideboard, not like best of 1 queues like you would do.
Yeah. I can't roast you for that. That's all you had back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I won 30 games or something. So I won, and then I won like a league. I went undefeated in the league like the next day or something. So I'm like, all right, this deck is the best. Andre has quit Magic at this point, and he'd played in Portuguese Nationals. He played the Jund deck that I made previously, and he's like, I'm quitting Magic. But he just has like a mental breakdown, and he goes, I'm overstating this. Like, he's not about to go to the loony bin or anything. He's just like, I'm just sick of playing poker. Like, fuck all this life or whatever. He's just like, Mike, I'm getting a last minute ticket to Worlds in Rome. It's my last Pro Tour I'm qualified for.
Yeah. He's literally pulling the Strosky, I'm retiring, I'm back.
Yeah,
right?
so he's just like, I know you gave me a terrible deck like a week ago for my national championship that I bombed, but do you have a deck? And I said, I'm 100% sure I have the best deck, is what I said to him. He said, you're 100% sure. I'm like, I am 100% sure I have the best deck. And if you watch the post game interview with Randy Buehler, he said, Mike Flores told me he was 100% sure he had the best deck. So I just played it without changing any cards. And that was based on like 1 or 2 nights of playing on MTGO, and I went on.
What level of play skill was Andre Coimbra at the time? Like, did you have him as like
World
top
class.
five? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, top 5 in the world?
At the time, 2009. Yeah,
Oh, I mean, he was
top
he's
10,
certainly
top 15,
top
top 20,
25. I mean, he's
top
multiple
25.
Pro
Yeah,
Tour top 8s.
yeah.
He's absolutely excellent player. If anything, his limitation was he did not have a network. So like Andre
Yeah,
was like
how's he get? How's a Portuguese national get linked up with Michael J?
so Andre was an exceptional like soloist, basically. Like so made Pro Tour world top 8s, Pro Tour top 8s by himself. And so BDM was the coverage guy at the time, right? And obviously one of my best friends, right? So and he's just like, oh, there's this kid from Portugal, and he's just like, I think he's pretty good, and he wants to brew, and he's just like,
Yeah.
I'll
How
brew
old
with
is he in 2009? You're like what, 30 something, the early
him.
30s.
Yeah, I'm in my early 30s at this point.
And is he like
I think I had my
19,
second kid by then. Yeah,
22?
he's a kid. He's not 25 yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, he's a kid. Yeah, so he's just like, yeah, there's this kid, and like, so I don't know, I got him a writing job on Star City, and then I don't know, we just like collabed a little bit. We had a team called the Just Us Society. Get it? Just
I get
Us.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
Justice Gang.
yeah, the just so it's called the Just Us Society. So it's obviously very small. It was like me, Steve Sadin, and Andre. And that was the Just Us Society. So yeah, then that was actually an interview question. How did you link up with Mike Flores?
Yeah.
So
What's the what's the pre-modern deck with the worst mana base that's the best to ever win a pre-modern tournament?
I mean, there are some awful pre-modern mana bases. Okay. I don't think I said this on the podcast. Did I when Sam was on? I love the Rock. I've been playing Fran's
Ravenous Rats, Wall Blossom.
Grand
Yeah.
Coliseum deck. I mean, I didn't. I played it 2 weeks ago. I didn't win. So I lost to Wyatt, but it was a good match. Like normally, like Wyatt just comes in and parfaits. You got like,
yeah. This is all like the Rock pill experience. Okay,
every
like
Rock
you're like, oh, it was such a good match.
Did it?
Such a good match. It's like, yeah. It's designed.
Great match.
This is the race car that's designed to explode before the finish line. Every time you're just like, oh my god, I got so close, and then my car exploded.
So, well, yeah, anyway, so I didn't play last week because I don't remember. I had something to do, and then you made fun of me that you claimed that I was just playing Last Airbender instead of playing. I went to a grade school hockey game that night. Actually, that's what I did that night in New Jersey. Watch these kids that I know get annihilated by a frankly more talented team in New Jersey. I think they got like in the closing 30 seconds of I think the second period, the score went from 4-0 to 7-0. And like the last because they had a mental breakdown like in the last 30 seconds before the period ended. They got spanked. But then we went to the Cheesecake Factory, and that was good. And then this past week was Thanksgiving, so I did not play. But I look forward to playing The Rock in an upcoming week. But I also I decided, I think I said this to you, I'm not going to be stressed out about like my standings in the league finals. Like I've been first both of the previous 2 seasons, and I did not win either one. So I'm like, maybe if I just don't have first, and I'm just like coming in 6th or whatever.
I don't think that's what it is. I think you just need to like have some resolve about the top 8. Like maybe you gotta
maybe just not play mono red.
Yeah, maybe you need to be Andre. Red twice. Maybe you need to be Andre for league finals and let somebody else Flores you. Like maybe you're a podcast co-host who has never led you astray.
I mean, I got to tell you, I played mono blue Dreadnought of, I wouldn't say my own design. I think it was like obviously base Dave Veraska, and then I put
You
some
can't.
training
I
on
mean,
it.
it's really hard to redesign the mono blue deck. Raska keeps on doing it. He's like, "Oh, cut
Yeah.
Gushus, play
Yeah.
Thwart," but everyone else is like, "Oh, third Flash of Insight, or
Yeah.
am I gonna play one Misdirection?" And it's just like,
So
let's try to think
it
more expansively if you want to
my
change
deck
things.
starts with Raska. I just took out the cards I didn't like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then put in 4 AKs, and then you tuned my sideboard by 1 card or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean,
So,
it's like
so, like,
the
it's
way I'm
I'm
just
not gonna claim, "Oh, I made Dreadnought with
I,
Misrespect." No, I
I'm
didn't.
I'm
David Raskin did,
I'm
right? So
differentiating like bring. It's actually funny because I think people like don't get it. Like there's a lot of like there's like a lot of comments are just like, oh, like that's it, like this isn't brewing, like this you just changed, you just changed like 6 cards. It's like the 6 cards you change really matter.
you know
Like
what the
if you
biggest
have
difference?
zero Mistress Factory and you have 1 or 2 or 3 Mistress Factories, like
You know your win
you're playing a
expectation
different
with
deck.
2 Mistress Factories versus 0 Mistress Factories against a deck with 4 Meddling Mages is? It's 0 versus non-zero.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's like, you win some number of the games.
Yeah.
If you have none, you win 0,
I
right?
mean,
That's what happens.
it's like to some extent, it's obviously bearing the lead about the like parallax tide stuff and whatever. But like at the end of the day, I do see this kind of thing of people are just like, oh, this just looks like this deck, and I'm just like, it does look like this deck, but like if like I run into this kind of thing because I don't know. Like if you look at a deck list, do you have like inherent skepticism or inherent optimism about like what you're looking at? Are you like trying to be like because
Depends on the
this
deck.
was me looking at the lightsaber deck. I'm just kind of like, okay, let's assume that everything about this deck is correct, which seems insane to me. But that's why it was
But
so
look
fun
at
to
the
have
other
you
decks
tell
in
the
the
story.
top 8.
Exactly.
Like,
But that's the thing. So
it was a different time.
I know, but that's what's so interesting is just that you could kind of do this exercise whatever, and I think approaching with optimism is obviously generally the better policy, right? It lets you to have more expansive view on things. We saw this so much with there's crazy stuff that people do in Premodern. They play Hunting Pack and Elves, but they play horrible mana bases, or they play weird cards in their combo decks, or they play weird cards in their Dreadnought decks. But it's also like it's the line gets kind of blurry sometimes because like
I want to
the
pause for a
skepticism.
second.
Well, let me finish
Hunting
the
Pack
thought, which
on
is
Elves.
just that the skepticism is also helpful because skepticism was like really good about like being like, okay, I don't know, I think we should like remove Wall of Roots from our Pernicious Deed deck, which I think was like correct. But then I kind of like I had a big skepticism about Yavimaya Elder, but times have kind of changed, and I'm just like, dude, 2 basic lands in my hand sounds like really good in this metagame.
Yo, man, I took out your what are they called? Ravagers,
Phyrexian Rager, yeah.
I took out your Ragers for Yavimaya Elders, and I didn't make a lot of other changes to your deck, but I played them. And then I guess I only played it in 1 match, and I lost.
I guess the answer was just
But
instead
I
changing
did it
them for
myself.
Ravenous Rats, which is like it's the same card. It's just
so,
1 mana cheaper. It's a big deal.
So I
actually.
do want to address Hunting Pack, right?
Yeah.
So this is a thing that I find to be very interesting. I don't think Hunting Pack is good at all. Like, I think it is a negative card to have in your Elves deck because it literally only functions if you're like a rich person going down the Riviera in your like luxury super yacht,
immediately
right? Like,
immediate counterpoint is like very obvious here, which is just that like, if you can conceivably construct an Elves deck that needs to balance ways to generate lots of mana and things to put that mana into, right? So assuming that you're not interested in playing a small ball Rishton Port Tangle Wire like Multani's Acolyte is in every Elves deck, but like assuming that you're trying to play a game that either makes 100 mana and wins the game or like fails at that, you need things to do with 100 mana besides Survival of the Fittest. And I am a fan of Deranged Hermit because I think 5 is both a large amount of mana and easily accomplished through removal spells.
But you don't have to. No, but Deranged Hermit, you have like 1 or 2 accelerators in your regular land drops. You just drew a Gaia's Cradle, like.
You can cast Deranged Hermit through a Plowshares. It's very hard to cast Hunting Pack through a Plowshares. Or not very hard, but it's harder.
It's very hard to profit with Hunting Pack unless you are already winning the game somehow.
That's not true. However, though. That's not true. You're not already winning the game, right? Like this battlefield, right?
No,
if your opponent,
like you got past checkpoint 2, right? Like your opponent did not stop you.
This is like too skeptical of a view. This is what I think.
I have a point that I didn't get to. Okay. And the reason that I want to contrast this is like I've always been very pro Kamal Fist of Kroza. And you've always been like a Kamal Fist of Kroza skeptic. And like people like Mengu were like, oh, Tribal Force Mage. And I'm like, no, Kamal allows you to win games that no other card will allow you to win. And it's not that much more expensive than Deranged Hermit. It's achievable. And there are a lot of games that you just draw it and cast it on turn
It's
3.
+6 on Deranged Hermit, and you need to have a Deranged Hermit already in play
So
for it
I
to
can
be good.
I can promise you, if Wyatt had Tribal Force Mage, he would not have beaten me. If Wyatt had 4 Deranged Hermits in his hand, he would not have beaten
that's
me.
like a sinister
And
analogy, right? Because you
No, no,
remember
and if
you
he had
remember every
all the hunting packs in his deck in his hand, he would not have beaten me. But Kamal both held off my ability to commit offense and allowed him to exploit all of
Right,
these.
I understand. Like I
But
think
it's the only card in the Elves deck that does that.
the point against Kamal is not the same. The point against Kamal is not the same as the point for Hunting Pack. The point for Hunting Pack is pretty simple. If I have a ton of mana, like what's a ton of mana? It's like a Quirion Ranger, a Priest of Titania, a Forest, sometimes a Cradle, and hopefully a symbiote. It's like, okay, well, what am I going to do with that if I don't have survival in play? The answer is Deranged Hermit or nothing else, right? The answer, like, this was one of the things about Tangle Wire in the deck that just drove me crazy, which was just kind of like, you, like, are converting your, like, your super, and, like, you have 7 mana, you have 10 mana on turn 3, you have some complete BS nonsense, and you're just like, I'm gonna Tangle Wire so that I can draw a couple extra cards off the top of my deck.
I think this is
the second thing. Case against Kamal. The case against Kamal is actually quite simple, right? You win all the games that you win with Kamal, so you have to be able to separate the I'm not saying you win 0 games with Kamal. I'm just saying that, like, the amount of games you win because of Kamal is very, very small in comparison to the amount of games that you lose with Kamal because you didn't have access to 11 mana, or you play this card. Like, one of the things that fascinates me about Elves is, like, generally speaking, Counterspell Swords of Plowshares is, like, not good against Elves. It's good against every other deck in the format besides, like, whatever, Burn. But, like, Swords of Plowshares is just, like, so bad against Elves.
You just
right?
cast it. You just cast it.
You're looking for, your opponent has 100 copies of the thing that you just Swords of Plowshares.
When Spencer beat me, I'm looking at my hand. I'm like, do I cast Seal of Cleansing? Do I leave up Mana Leak? Right? Like, it's it's so bad.
It doesn't matter,
right?
Yeah,
because he went first. If I had gone first, I'm like, okay, this game.
Right, you can do something. Right? Yeah, and
that's I'm like, okay, he went first. I'm like, I got it. This sucks. All right. I play Seal of Cleansing, and then he exploits me because I played Seal of Cleanser, right? But if I had held up Mana Leak, maybe he just plays ones,
Yeah, like, he could just do
faster no matter what.
Especially if you're, a deck that doesn't, like, have any kind of battlefield, like, that's kind of the 3/1/1s idea. But the case against Kamal is, like, really simple. It's just like, okay, well, if you draw this card and, like, you don't have survival in play, and you don't have, like, Priest of Titania in play, and, like, you don't have, like, a lot, you might not even have 6 mana. Like, you might just have 5 mana. Or it's like, if you might have a Cradle, and you might just have, like, a couple guys because your opponent suppressed your battlefield. Like, those are all games that you just don't know that you lost because you draw Kamal. One, because you're playing Elves, so you're just winning a lot no matter what. And, like, but, like, from a lot of spots, like, it's so hard to be like, oh, I just got Kamal, I got Anger, I made 100 mana, I did 10,000 damage. It's like, I've said it 100 times on this podcast.
First of all,
like,
that's the only card that does that.
You only need to do 20. And you know what card does 20 damage really easily is just another Deranged Hermit. Because the other thing is you cut a card for Kamal. Like, it's so enticing to just fill your deck with cards that you can Survival of the Fittest for. But you should be thinking about it in the opposite direction. This is why I went untapperless, right? It was like, what is the minimum amount of creatures that I can Survival of the Fittest for to make Survival of the Fittest still a game-winning card, but make it so that the other cards in my deck, when I don't see Survival of the Fittest, don't feel like dead air? Because every Q Ranger, every Kamal, every Genesis random thing type card, like, starts being dead weight in your hand in the games where your opponent is like, oh, counterspell your survival.
So I disagree on so many levels. Number one, if you're gonna say, like, what if you imagine this in the Aaron Forsyth model, right? So Elves is a deck that comes long after Aaron Forsyth's Angry Hermit deck, right? When the original Angry Hermit created the paradigm in Magic of mana and bombs, right? Like the deck that Aaron used to be top 8 at the U.S. National Championships in 2000, created this paradigm: mana and bombs, mana and bombs. Half, 2/3 of the Elves deck is mana, right? It's just like, here's the thing that taps for mana, right? And then the other small portion is ways that you exploit that mana to win the game. If you ask the question, a level 1 question, what is the best card? What is the best bomb that I can pair with this particular type of mana? Clearly, Deranged Hermit is the best. It's a 9/9 for 5 that has haste in context.
Okay? And it's also a ritual in context.
It is very good. Okay. However,
quick aside, Aaron Forsythe's deck, 3 Skyshroud Poacher. Shout out.
Oh yeah, no. Aaron Forsythe created it. He actually used the Skyshroud Poacher to get all the Deranged Hermits. Like, the Elves deck is very much a spiritual successor of his mana and bombs philosophy. Okay.
Yeah. This is like Rafello's Sky's Cradle. It's got a lot of the same ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't let him play with survival of the fittest, right?
Yeah.
Squee hadn't been printed yet, So, but the questions that we have to answer with the Elves deck are not just the level 1 question of what is the best kind of expensive thing that I can win the game with when I have access to an overabundance of mana inside of the first 3 turns. And the reason is because we're playing in a format that includes cards like Engineered Plague, right? Like, if an Engineered Plague is in play, right? So don't get me wrong, we all know how to beat an Engineered Plague. Well, actually, Wyatt didn't. I had to teach him afterwards. He's like, I was supposed to side this in. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's how you beat Engineered Plague. He's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So, like, I actually had Plague on Insects against him, not against Elves, because he cleverly had
Elvis Symbiote in play. Oh, okay.
No, Elvis Champion. And I cleverly never played a Forest. Right, so it was a sick game. This game was really good. I understand this
probably because you can barely draw any forests in the rock if you need them. I know.
I was going to play my forest and kill him in the last turn, but he killed me first. We were just on a standoff for a large number of turns. So the thing is, if an Engineered Plague is in play, it's not that a Deranged Hermit is awful, right? It's like 5 mana for
it's better than a Kamal against a
4 ritual. It's really
Plague.
not. Right, so
it is right because you're never casting Kamal if you have no priests.
The decks that play Engineered Plague give you a bunch of time to just draw land and play them. Right, that's one of the things.
You're not wrong from like a macro standpoint, but like my argument from that would just be like, okay, well, my Deranged Hermit deck generally plays more lands. My Gaia's Cradles are better because I have more Deranged Hermit and less Kamal. Like the thing that I kind of generally like when I look at your argument, I think that you really love that Kamal adds like capability. Like this is like a classic Michael J divide by 0. Like it feels like it's all upside, and my argument is, I think, very hard to get through against that argument, because when something feels like it's all upside, that like it's adding capability to your deck, you can do the 100 mana thing, you can animate Cradle, you can animate your opponent's lands and Masticore them down. These are all things you can't do if you don't have Kamal. Upside.
It's a question of opportunity cost, right? If let's say this is an iterative argument, right? And you don't have to participate in an iterative argument. You can just say, I'm not going to do either, right? But if the default is I might play a Tribal Force Mage, if my option is
just get away from Tribal Force Mage for this, because I have no interest in Tribal Force Mage as well. Right?
But
it's the same card. To me, it's the same card. So like I'm saying,
not the same card. Kamal's
Mike, I understand, right? But I don't care, right? Because I'm on team 4th copy of Deranged Hermit, Skyshroud poster, right?
I'm gonna play this. I'm not gonna participate in your iterative argument.
But no, you're using no, Mike, listen. You're trying to say Kamal is better than Tribal Force Mage. I have no interest in whether or not Kamal or Tribal Force Mage is better.
Than Hunting Pack,
I think that again, I would say that the case for like the Hunting Pack deck can also play Kamal, right? Like you brought up opportunity cost. My point about opportunity cost is that your deck is really, really good sometimes when it doesn't cast Survival of the Fittest, when it doesn't cast Priest of Titania, and it just casts Deranged Hermit off of like a Cradle, a Q-Ranger, and a Llanowar Elf. Like that's really good, and that's not a situation where Kamal is good.
I would not argue that I don't even know what word to use, like better or like obviously you're just not participating in like some of these other elves conversations. I
I
think that it is
participate in all elves conversations. Okay,
okay.
I need to remind the viewers that I am actually like amongst like the elf gods. I just don't talk about it
Okay.
as much, and so like
All right.
as a
I would
result,
just like to say like
I invented cradle control.
okay.
You'd be
I would just
calling it
point
Lanny
out
Elves if I didn't give it such a bad name initially.
I was calling it Lanny Elves, right? I was gonna make it anyway. I pulled a case out of the binder, right?
That's all.
People
That
iterate.
wasn't me. For what it's worth,
I
that's
know
not
that
me.
wasn't you. People are iterating and iterating.
I did not know
Your
Queso
deck, the
existed.
way that you build it, is not better. It's just different. Your deck is much, much worse against replenish. Like the elf deck, just like I don't want to play this small ball tangle wire stuff. Like when I got away from tangle wire, that was when I was never beating Wyatt when he was playing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
can.
yeah. So
Right?
let me
You have to play some of the small ball
Mike,
stuff
Mike,
in
I
order to beat some of this other
I
deck.
this is actually I can bring this in, right? So I don't like this is why Elves is fascinating to me because Elves is actually super interesting right now because Elves can do everything, right? Elves can beat every single other thing that any other deck is doing. So it makes me so
Wyatt
fascinated because
Echo.
what's that?
I don't know
I
any
think
elves that
I think
compete
it
with Wyatt's Echo.
I think you can plausibly do something about the Quiet Spec Oath deck. Part of it is by making Volcanic Spray less good because we can beat Oath of Druids, right? And we can beat Terravore. And
Game one?
well,
It's
look, Mike,
it's dude, it's hard. I
look,
don't know. Like I'm not a
look,
give up guy.
look.
I don't see how you do
If
it.
we can bring in 4 Celestial Purge, 4 Goblin Ruin Bastard, and 4 whatever the fuck Great Sable Stag, we can find 12 cards that can flip the matchup for Elves, and that's actually the truth. But
Man, when you
what's
flood right up into a Great Sable Stag and they have 2 Putrid Leech in play,
okay?
you're like, ugh, what is
so
my life?
so
I can't kill a Great Sable Stag. It
so
has 3 toughness.
and also like lest we forget that like Quiet Spec Oath is just kind of like a deck right now. It doesn't really feel like it's like I'm not going into LobsterCon 2026 just being like super afraid of Quiet Spec Oath. Like sure, you are right.
I'm
Any
just gonna play
build
Burn.
of any build of Elves that I build is probably going to like not be great against Quiet Spec Oath, but I do think it's going to be better than the version of Elves with a ton of 1/1s. But all of these conversations, Hunting Pack conversation, Tangle Wire conversation, Kamal conversation, I think they're very interesting to look at independent of each other to help everyone inform how they want to build the Elves deck in addressing what they want. One of the first things like that happened was people were like, "Oh, Lanny, I like the deck. I just think that you don't have to cut all the symbiotes, right? You don't have to cut 3 symbiote. Like I love symbiote." I'm just like, "Okay, we'll just play my deck and make room for symbiote acolyte or
Just
whatever,
opportunity
right?
cost, right? Like
Not
you
not
want more Bird of Paradise. It's
yeah,
fine,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Not that much is going to change. So, but if we can arrive to a place where we just have some sort of mutual understanding, which is just that, like, I think that Kamal wins in these situations. I think it's very important to highlight that Kamal or Tribal Force Mage or Hunting Pack also lose in certain situations, and you kind of start to sculpt a picture of just kind of like, oh, well, why are you playing Hunting Pack in your deck? I think people get too simplified. They're like, oh, like this is really good for this matchup, or it's really good against this card, and it's hard to like. I think the closer that you get to constructing a deck that sort of acknowledges the big picture, especially in Premodern, like if you get to a deck where you kind of have super laser focus on every single card in the 75, like Raska style, like my sideboard card, like my 75 is like super locked, even though I can change it, right? But like it's super intentional. I'm doing everything for a reason. I think that you can do Kamal for a reason. I just want to get away from looking at the card like a divide by zero. And you're right. Like I think if you
I don't think of it as a divide by zero. I'm like, here's a slot. It's say occupying a slot.
right, but so and
it's an
don't get me wrong.
opportunity cost.
I think that when you cut all the Korean Rangers from your deck, you can't really play Kamal. Like that's kind of obvious to me, but it's worth pointing out.
All of Kamal's upside away.
Yeah.
Like Kamal's upside is predicated on untapping things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'll give you a separate thing. So when I was very seriously playing Elves a few months ago, like at the beginning of summer, whenever I was playing it like a lot. I was working on it a lot. I played it at, I think I made top 8 or top 4 at Grand Prix Levine, and then I made top 4 at Bearded 1K. And I was playing in League, and I was, playing a lot of Thornscape Battle Mage and working on that, I took all of the Tangle Wires out of my deck
Yeah.
in order to play
Fit the goods,
Thornscape
yeah.
Battle Mage, right? So, like, here's an example. I played against Dave Kaplan at a 1K, right? And he's goes off with his Dreadnought deck against some piddly little Elves deck, right? Then I killed his Dreadnought. He's like, oh. Then he made another Dreadnought, and I killed it. He's just like, you have 2 main deck? I was like, no, I do not have 2 main deck, right? And I 2-0'd the great one of Mono Blue Dreadnought by blowing up all of his Dreadnoughts, right? And then I just attacked him, for 2 or 4 a bunch of times because I don't have to go to the highest ceiling. I know what the capabilities of his deck are, and I have another Thornscape Battle Mage in my hand, right? Like, so, like, I just understand I understand the metagame of this 2-man match here, right? But, by definition, when I'm playing against Wyatt in the top 4, I literally just don't have the card that slows him down, right? Like, versus I played him in League the next week with Stompy and just annihilated him 2-0, because I had Tangle Wire.
But it's so hard for, I mean, like, I think it's like just a little bit too salient for you, like, Kamal winning, Steve in the game against your rock deck, when you could just be like, okay, well, maybe like
there's just no
100 matches. Exactly. That's why I think it's divide by 0. I think when you, like, one of the things that I was listening back to our Sam Black episode, and Sam was just saying, like, Sam said something, and I don't think that he would sort of deny my sort of counterpoint, but he said, he said something like Mox Diamond is above replacement, and it's because it does fixing and ramp in a way that other cards do not. And I was like, this is not my use of above replacement, because if I have like a deck with a Mox Diamond in it, I could like swap it for like a Swords to Plowshares, and like if I replace it with Swords to Plowshares, I probably win more matches. So what he was really trying to say, or I'm not going to put words in his mouth, because obviously, once you kind of go 10 levels deep, you're like, okay, well, my deck really wants Mox Diamond because it has Tithe and Gush and like whatever. Okay, that's when we've gotten too far. But if we just reel it back into like above replacement in this thing, I think the thing that's more accurate to say is like cannot be replaced. And those are the sort of divide by 0 stuff of like, oh, this is the moment that you add Mishra's Factory to your Dreadnought deck, the moment that you add Rishadan Port or Tangle Wire. Exactly. Yeah.
You're changing capability, right? Like this is like the core Mike Flores philosophy, right? You are changing capability. Also, I super resist the concept of a replacement value Magic card. There are over 27,000 unique Magic the Gathering
math
cards.
is dead, so I agree.
No. There are over 27,000 unique Magic the Gathering cards. Well over 26 of those 27,000 have the text "Change the rules of Magic the Gathering" on them. That's what Magic card text is. Every single card, in some way, shape, or form, changes the rules of the game. And then you play them, and you're just like, oh, like Grey Ogre does not change the rules of the game. Right? Like, but most other Magic
but let me tell you about Hill Giant that you can cast from your graveyard. That changes the rules.
A lot of these other cards, change the rules.
This is too pie in the sky. This is too pie in the sky for me, right? It's just like you're building a deck. You want to put the best cards for your deck in your deck. Like, sometimes you pull one lever and that makes another lever go up, right? So like some things are super obvious, like, oh, if I like I said, if I cut Q Rangers, then I have to cut Kamal, right? I can't play Hunting Pack. I certainly couldn't play whatever. I certainly can't play Phantom Nantuko. But you can start to kind of like cut through with your machete the like tangle of this Elves deck of just being like, what cards should I put in this deck when I can put anything in and they all feel like good cards? And the only bad thing about my deck is that I can't beat Opal Wave basically ever if it makes it onto the battlefield. I'm not really good at stopping it from coming onto the battlefield. And also my opponent
take wire and kill them. That's how you do it.
And then my opponent can also Altar of Dementia, Brain Freeze me, etc. out of the game.
Yeah, but that's easy to beat. Right, you could beat that with 1 or 2 cards. So the
guys listening. Ironically, your Iggy Pop opponent, upon sniffing out that you have Guy's Blessing, will simply use Hunting Pack of all cards. And the only way to beat that opponent is if you have your own Hunting Pack to make the same amount of beasts.
So the thing that I find to be fascinating about making magic decks and helping people make their magic decks is I maybe I'm just a contrarian, maybe I'm just an asshole, but I have this like fundamental like aversion to other people's archetypes. So like I hate it even like now that like on MTG Melee they're like pick your archetype, like if you're Boros Aggro, like, I hate conceptually hate this, right? And like
Yeah,
when you're
Sam
talking
did
about
say his
elves,
least favorite part of opening a new deck file on Moxfield is that it forces you to
is
give it a name.
to name it, right? So, like, you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to work on my elves deck, right? And your elves deck has such different capability than a regular elves deck, which has at least somewhat different capability than my elves deck, right? Like, these exist, they're a related family, right? But like regular elves deck, and to a lesser degree, my elves deck have such a higher ceiling than your elves deck. But your elves deck has such higher consistency in the first 3 turns of the game, right? Like there's a substantial trade off. Your ceiling is much lower. And the
But
number of times you said, I only need to do 20, not 1,000. I get it. And you are better at dealing 20. And you just simply don't win the games that you have to do 1,000.
so
And
so
that's okay.
this
But
is what this is where I'm actually super interested is because I actually think that you can lever in between those two extremes, right? So you can
so
plausibly play a deck that instead of playing 2 untappers, right, you can play 5 untappers. Instead of playing 1 Priest of Titania, you can play 2 Priest of Titania. And you can have 1 Kamal over Deranged Shermid or Sky Shroud Poacher or whatever you're interested in. And that might be the Elves deck. Like, you just need to figure
you want
out.
to hit that. There's like overlapping circles. You're just
Yes,
like,
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
is the overlap I want to hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll tell you 2 unrelated Patrick Chapin stories. I think this will explain to you where I'm coming from. And I think it will teach people like a pretty important thing about how to position decks and stuff like that, right? So when you're talking about elves, like I'm like, I hate this conversation, right? Like I'm like, we're talking about elves. I'm talking about replacing stupid tribal force mage with Kamal, and you're like, I'm not gonna have this conversation at all. I'm so contrarian to elves, and I respect that your elves deck has its own identity, right? So Fedge, Jeff Cunningham, was making this argument at one point that the optimal Gifts Ungiven deck was over 60 cards. And he's just like, this is the optimal Gifts Ungiven deck. And Patrick Chapin made the argument that no, it's not, right? He's just like, yes, it is. No, it's not. And Patrick Chapin's argument was, I can make a better Gifts Ungiven deck at less than 60 cards. How low can I go?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He says, like, you could go to any number. So Patrick Chapin made an 8-card Gifts Ungiven deck that had a Gifts Ungiven in it, and the other 7 cards was just a deterministic combo if you went first. Right? In
Yeah, no
standard.
shit.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, here's my 8-card Gifts Ungiven deck. Sometimes I have to mulligan the hands that I draw Gifts Ungiven. You're always dead on turn 1. Right? Like, so that's why I'm like super resistant to this concept of archetypes. He technically made a deck with with Gifts Ungiven in it, and it just had nothing to do with this other thing.
Okay, so what?
And so let me tell the other story.
Well,
One
let me
year,
let me let me
yeah.
give a quick counterpoint to the concept. The reasons by extremes here is that the thing that is interesting about 60 card Magic versus 8 card Magic or 3 card Magic or Pack Wars or whatever or Cube or whatever, like the 60 card minimum is actually very important for giving texture to the game of like, oh, you kind of need lands, right? So you kind of need to like figure out how many lands you have. You kind of need cards that are core to your strategy and also cards that like you can't reliably put your strategy in your hand at all times. So every deck kind of forms around this conceit. Like if you're saying like I could build a 30 card, I would not play like Call the Herd in my 30 card Elves deck, right? Because my 30 card Elves deck would just win on turn 3 all the time because I would see many more copies of Gaia's Cradle. So I wouldn't use that as an argument against optimizing by finding some sort of middle ground between extremes, because I actually think that people think about 60 card decks as 10 card combo decks, and for Dreadnought it definitely is. But even if you look at Dreadnought, you're like, well, the most exciting version of Dreadnought had 75 cards that you could, plausibly turn it into optimizing for different elements.
You can start with the other deck and switch back into Dreadnought.
Bucket of 60, yeah.
I think that's worse because Dreadnought gets more free wins.
Yeah, of course. Second story, yeah.
So second story is, there was this time where Patrick was like obsessed with these like 4-color, 5-color control decks in Standard, and like the curse of Reed was just like literally at the altar of Patrick Chapin at this point in his career. So they were both on the pantheon, but Reed hadn't broken out to the, you know, to the capital R, capital D character that he eventually became. So he was just kind of like apprenticing himself to Patrick's weird deck designs. You know, Reed always wants to play the Jund deck, right? And maybe the Jund deck is a 4-color board control deck, right? So Patrick's just like, look, nobody on the team's helping me with this. I need you to help me with this. And I'm like, what are the bad matchups? And he's just like, oh, I'm like, don't tell, it's beatdown is the bad matchup. I can look at this. I can tell you already beatdown's bad. But he's like, yes, beatdown is the bad matchup. And I'm like, you also have problems with control. And he's just like, yeah, I guess so. I'm like, I send him the deck back, and he's just like, why did you change my mana base so much? And how does this solve any of my problems? And I'm like, this is why I changed your mana base. And the sideboard turned his deck into like a turbo reanimator deck. And I'm like, if you're forcing Reed Duke to play this deck, at least play this sideboard. You will always beat the beatdown decks, and the control decks can't beat it either. So, like, that's like I'm like super resistant to these concepts of like, help me with my board control deck. I'm going to help you with your board control deck and fix
by making it not a board control deck
by annihilating it.
Yeah, right? That's actually like, kind of a classic Premodern thing. If somebody drops in, just like, oh, I've got this idea. And it's like, okay, well, first thing is I would cut the victimize, because you only need recurring nightmare. But yeah, so hear me out. Like, do you not think that it is plausible that you can optimize an Elves deck and you kind of end up at a spot where you play 2 copies of Korean Ranger instead of 1 or 4?
I think that that's certainly possible in the multiverse that we live in. I've been told that there's at least one universe, probably infinite, that I'm currently married to Harry Styles. So the idea that there's an optimal Elves deck with exactly 2 Korean Rangers is probably pretty nearby our current universe. I think that you just pick 2 circles. Like, I want X amount of speed, and I want to beat land still this percentage of the time, and like whatever that overlap is, that's the right number.
So help me with how you think about how many Korean Rangers you would put in an Elves deck, and what do you think? What do you think about when you are adding and subtracting Korean Rangers from your Elves deck? Like, let's break from the most important thing, right? Is to break from the assumption that you have to have 4. You can say that I have to have 4, but don't assume that I have to have 4 because it is creature type elf and it's a 1/1 for 1, right?
So I don't know if I can answer your question in the spirit that you're asking it. So
okay, well.
The reason that let me answer it the way that I'm going to answer it, and this is not the spirit that you're asking it. So my only thought process on this is, what is the likelihood I'm playing against an Oath deck, right? If the likelihood that I'm playing against an Oath deck is X percentage, I just don't play Elves, right? Like, I'm just like, not this
so
week.
It becomes 0 Korean Rangers and also 0 Llanowar Elves and 0 Findorn Elves and 0 Wild Symbiotes.
But if the question is, the likelihood of me playing an Oath deck is now like low. It's like 15% instead of like 65% or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. What do I want to do next? Right? Like, that's the next thing. I'm like, if I'm not playing against an Oath deck, what am I playing against? Right? So
Elves Elves can be big game against Oath. I mean, you just board in Disenchants and Tempting Worm and go to town.
Look, man, I've done. I don't know. I don't.
You just hate getting Oath trigger. You just hate giving them an Oath. You're just like you're like opening your opening. I actually had a game. I looked at my opening hand. I'm playing against the Oath opponent, and I'm just like, it does, like, this hand does everything right. I'm just like, I think I need a mulligan to naturalize, and guess what I did? I mulligan to naturalize, and guess what I did? I naturalized Oath of Druids, and then guess what I did? I won the match.
All right, so I had a match.
You just hate to mulligan.
I matched same 1K that I beat Kaplan and lost to Wyatt. I'm playing against Oath Panza. Game 1, I'm like, all right, my line is protect the mountain and then hasted Thornscape Battle Mage for 2 points that he's not expecting. Right? Like, he's doing the math. I'm gonna get bonus 2. That's how I'm gonna do it. I could not protect the mountain, and so I did not win. So then game 2, I just played a bunch of 1/1s and attacked into the Terravor, got him with Xaxes. He's like, that's Xaxes. I'm like, yeah, that's math is dead, but I did the math.
Arithmetic is okay. We'll allow arithmetic. Yeah.
Okay, so to get it in, and then I lost the 3rd game because he had 2 Oaths. I had I had a
Yeah,
naturalized.
one
He had two
naturalized. Yeah,
oaths.
yeah, 2 O's. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, okay, now I'm just gonna sit back and like, what do? He just casts a Terravore. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Trigger.
do I even? If I trigger Oath and I trigger into Deranged
Yeah, yeah.
Tournament, that's really bad. Okay, like, so I'm like, then he beat me
Yeah, you
because
don't trigger oath. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean,
Okay,
like,
so
that's why I
so
don't like it.
maybe
Really out of my
maybe
hands. Like,
maybe let's just go ahead and give some two ideas. One is like, okay, well, we're building a deck. We decided that it's going to be, a dreadnought deck. So we don't really have too many conversations about 4 versus 3 copies of Stifle. People have played 3 copies of Stifle in their dreadnought deck, and I think it's just because they want to play. They don't want to be playing dreadnought. They want to play blue control, and they're like looking for all the cards that they can put in their blue control
it's just
deck.
high time, right?
And they
like,
just
your
like
deck is just the Magic the Gathering. This is why it's stupid to talk about making an Elves deck, because Dreadnought is the Magic the Gathering deck. It's like, I have like all the best things. I have free counter spells.
It's not.
And
Yeah,
like, and
Dreadnought is actually, it's super interesting. You're sitting there and you're like, I am actually gonna cut 1 copy of Gush because I'm trying to fit 4 AKs in.
The most convenient way to exploit all of these free Magic the Gathering cards that all say shit on your opponent twice with 1 anus, right? For no mana is a 2-card combination.
I think that's Sam Black's deck actually, and the combination is Tithe and Gush. So that you can cast Mox Diamond and Foil, which are the 2 broken free Magic cards. But
this is like the old Aaron Forsyth quote once he became in charge of R&D. He's just like, here's the thing about looking at player submissions for their like invitational or world championship cards. They all say the same thing. Like, yeah, the text is always, if you're better than your opponent, draw 2. They all the same text. If you're better than your opponent, draw 2 cards.
Okay. So this is a good point that you make, which is like, okay, why not just play Dreadnought? You actually start with the thesis, right? Esper Bobs has the thesis. Like, Esper Bobs, I once said that no deck has a right to exist. Esper Bobs doesn't have a right to exist, right? But Esper Bobs is staking claim to some land that is unclaimed, right? It's not, Esper Bobs is not a colonizing force. It's not trying to replace a deck. Sorry, a deck. I meant a deck. It's not trying to. It's not trying to occupy the space of another deck. Now that is something that some decks seek to do, right? So in many ways, after like the Quiet Spec Oath deck happened, we were just like, well, why are we bothering playing Terragon when we can play, Quiet Spec Oath? It just seems awesome.
But the thing that I was thinking when I said something like that is, I think that there's a kind of person, and that kind of person wants to Mox Diamond out a Terravore. I am not that kind of person.
Yeah.
I own these cards. They're sleeved.
That's like an Andy Levine
thing. Very expensive deck.
Yeah, like tapping Weathered Wayfarers is like a big Andy Levine thing. It's not really a Spike Colony thing.
And I'm like, I'm good, right? Like,
yeah,
good.
I like having cards in my hand.
Like, there is a kind of person who wants to use their Mox Diamonds and make a Terravore with it, and that person is Jeff Ferris.
I mean,
okay, people like Jeff Ferris.
Do I sound crazy when I say that it is outrageous that Mox Diamond and Ristenport are like best friends somehow? Like, when did they become friends with each other? They both subtract
you just
lands that you have.
28 lands.
Like,
and you have so many lands that there's enough to fill both mouths.
Like, could you show, like, I wish I could show like a like AI that's been trained on Magic cards but doesn't have any, like, doesn't know what Premodern is. It's like AI supercomputer god brain. Like, I've got a deck for you. It has Ristenport. It's like, oh, very interesting. For the price of 2 lands, you can suppress your opponent's land, but only if their deck contains 0 instants. I'm like, okay, keep going. What have you got? They're like, okay, I also have Mox Diamond. Oh, interesting. For the price of 2 lands, you get 1 land. Just like, so what are we doing once we keep subtracting all these lands? It's just like, oh, I guess I have Weathered Wayfarer.
Casting cost creature.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's big as a result of our own lands going to the graveyard.
Okay, back to the point. Terragon has a right to exist, right?
I feel like there are just some people who are into this.
the
They want to
thesis
use their
the
Nox
the,
Diamonds to
the
summon a 3 casting cost creature.
the
And
thesis of
those
Terrageddon
people,
is that a deck containing 4 Wasteland and 3 Rishon and Port is like good against certain decks. I
against
completely
people who
buy.
kept 2 lands.
And yeah, and
Like,
Armageddon's good, and then like the rest of the cards are just kind of a joke. It's just like
I just
like
thought
you get to run Swords of Plowshares.
I
It's
just
pretty
thought
exciting.
if you're this kind of person and this is the itch you want to scratch, this is the alley that you go down at night when
Oh,
nobody
man.
has a camera on you. Like,
You're kind of
you
just trying to dunk on the style
you can do this.
guys, and you're trying to be the force and leverage guy. But I think that the force and leverage guy
But
gets
I'm a force and
to
leverage guy.
well, the force and leverage guy gets to try to still gets to.
I'm a force and leverage Vorthos. Let's be honest, because
Oh
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
only for the kicks.
You're like a force and leverage, but for deck picks. But
Yeah.
I think that if you are sincerely looking at this Elves deck, you have an embarrassment of riches. You have Phantom Nantuko, you have Hunting Pack, you have Kamal, you have 8 untappers, you have 2 untappers, you might have 5 untappers, you might have 1 priest, you might have 4 priests. These are all very exciting levers to pull on because Elves has a really, really cool mix of cards that all do the same thing, so you can consistently make an amount of mana, exactly the amount of mana you want to make, right? If you had, a little extra time on your hand, you can code a machine that can predict how much mana you have on turn 3, 4, and 5 every game based on if you go from 1 to 4 Korean Rangers, right? So that's really exciting because you have this bedrock of consistency that you can rely on. You get to play between 0 and 12 mana dorks. Rip to Elves of Deep Shadow, which we don't have. Upon that foundation, you can then go from a 5 mana payoff or like a 3 mana. You can go from a 2 to 3 mana payoff like Sylvan Library, Call of the Herd Flashback, Deranged Hermit, Kesa type stuff, Skyshot Poachers type stuff, all the way up to a 100 mana payoff in the form of Kamal, right? So this is like starting to really, really like get to me because I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I think that there's an Elves Discord. Everybody's like kind of tinkering with the deck. I don't want to discount the work, but I'm kind of sitting here and I'm just like, this is like a weirdly unique deck in Premodern that you really can build to do exactly the thing that you want to do. And in many ways, my untapperless situation, cradle control situation is like, oh, let's just try to strip it for parts and see if the car still runs, right? Let's see what happens. Like I still have anger. I still have enough stuff to fetch out with survival to win on turn 4, but like, let's see what else we can put in. But now I'm kind of super interested in building the car back up and trying to leave out a few screws that just were, maybe like made you a little bit more aerodynamic, but like, oh, the weight actually outweighs that kind of stuff. And I think that's like a super interesting spot. And I think that's a spot that Elves kind of sits in, that other decks do not. And it's just so interesting because the cards, the way they interact, they ask so many different questions. You have these untappers. I think that the Phantom Nantuko thing was just so ingenious because it was just kind of like, well, I've got all these cards that say untap target elf, but I have no tap abilities besides mana. So let's just put
Phantom Nantuko thing is how Wyatt used it to win off the top rope.
Off the top rope,
right?
Yeah.
Right, like that was an inspiration that made his deck viable. Right.
Well, it's actually kind of crazy because the deck was like playing 4 Wireward Symbiotes and 0 Motani's Acolyte. And it was just kind of like, well, I'd like to recast my 4 Deranged Hermit, which I'm just trying to draw sometimes. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the other thing that was cool about it is he did so much good work with Masticore in a format where you would imagine Masticore would be at its nadir for how bad it would be. And anyway, he's
because your opponent could make you discard a card.
Yeah, like I just like, oh, this card is probably pretty bad. You never have any cards in hand.
Just pick up a forest.
Well, he was just like, well, he's like, well, you don't even have to keep it around, right? Like you just play it. It's like Plague Wind.
Yeah.
For like 1,000 mana, like kill all your guys, just get in. Like you're gonna kill their next round of guys before
Masticore is actually a really exciting lever there too, because there was a pilot that was just being like, I'll play 4 Masticore, and guess what happened to their burn matchup? It kind of just became it got better. It did get better by 100%, but it got better by some. It's obvious
to me that if you just have a Masticore with 2 open mana, that's like not bad against burn.
Yeah, they're dead in 5 turns, and they can't play half their deck.
They can't ball lightning you, right? Like a lot of stuff sucks, but like
Yeah,
It
they
would
have to.
suck worse if you had no operating ability, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
I mean, and these are the things like, one wall of roots is just awesome in elves because it's just like, well, it's actually it's one of those weird things. Like it's a card that adds mana. It actually adds capability
I
because
love
like,
Wall of Roots and Elves. I mean, I when I was playing Natural Order Elves, I played 2+2.
yeah, yeah. I mean, wall of roots is it's very obvious the interaction with natural order, but yeah, those are things that excite me. But and
Yeah,
then the
it's
last
a
thing,
card that doesn't die to lightning bolt or lava
yeah.
dart. Then you
uh,
could just cast a natural order on turn 3 and your opponent loses. Yeah, that's pretty good.
so my final point about that is that you do need to fit it in the container of 60 cards, and I think that on one hand, it's like the suture playstyle thing would be like an interesting angle on it because like my playstyle is like draw a bunch of 1/1s, don't draw survival, get extremely frustrated,
Do you think you have
remove as many 1/1s from the deck as possible.
I I I actually don't think about you as having someone who has a playstyle. I think of you as always having liked Growatalk.
So
But like you also
Grotog
when I
just
met you, you were playing blue red flash maybe like
I was playing
you
blue
like
red flash in standard, yeah, and
aggro
then I was
control-ish type
playing
decks.
Niv Mizzet Reborn in Modern Pioneer, and I used to play Dredge in Modern, and I used to play Solidarity in Legacy. I used to play Psychotog in Legacy. I used to play Grotog in Legacy.
So
Uh,
you
Threshold
exist
Madness, yeah.
in some place that like overlaps aggro control and explosive big spells. That's interesting.
Well, the when I started working on the rock deck, I was like, I think I need to like use my mid range skills because like I was playing this Niv Mizzet
But you
Reborn.
certainly don't understand control.
That's like definitely my like. It was actually so weird because I was so enamored of like heavy draw go morphling decks when I was like a teenager, and I can never go back to that. And it's not to talk too much about standard, but I'm like playing Roman's blue white deck, and I'm just like, okay, well, every game I just like turn into just like the Planeswalker Overlord like big spell deck. Like
Well, there's
this
one
isn't
planeswalker in your deck.
this isn't even like a counterspell removal deck. This is just like this is just a planes. It's just a
No,
fatty deck.
it's like
But
a I think it's like a leverage domination thing, which is like
I don't
basically
want to
your
get too deep
opponent
into it, but
your
just
opponent can only do
imagine
one thing usually, right?
imagine
And
if
you can
like
just
the
stop
landstill
that
deck
shit.
imagine if the landstill deck was just trying to cast a Decree of Justice as fast as possible. That's how I felt. I didn't feel like
Oh,
I was like building the web of like grindy card advantage. I was just like, okay, Wrath of God, fatty,
I
GG.
think
Like
I
that's
think
my
Roman's
but
deck is so intuitive and so easy to play. The problem with it is the matches take forever.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
sure.
I decided I'm just gonna run Mythic this because it's so easy.
Well,
I
that's
love standard right now. So I'm gonna run Mythic and like for me to play like blue green pollinator cub, I
oh
can win a game in three to
we
five
need
minutes.
to well so
Right?
the meta for like that kind of grinding is like first you optimize for play speed to get to mythic, but then once
Yeah.
you're in mythic, if you want to make a run at top 10, then you have to play the highest win rate deck,
But the problem
because
is
you can't
Roman's
top
deck
10
is
with
by
volume.
far the best deck in standard, but the average game is like 27
Yeah, so
minutes.
you just first you make
So
mythic. First you make mythic with burn, right? Or whatever.
I think blue
Pollinator. I
green
don't even know
pollinator
what that
cub.
means. I don't even know what that means. I don't want to know what that means. And then once you're in mythic, you play the control deck that has whatever win rate that you need to make a gun at top 50, top 100. I think I should set the bar at top 50, right? Cuz I was top 20 in vintage cube, so you should just be top 50
So
in
the thing
standard.
that's frustrating is I'm like high diamond or whatever right now. So like the thing that is frustrating is playing Roman's deck. I play against a lot of decks that cannot play against the metagame, but they are very good against Roman's deck. Like decks with
Okay. This is
multiple
too. This is
millstones.
now you're just rant. This is
They have like
too losses. I don't care about this.
no,
I
they
don't
have
want
like
you to complain about
multiple
your.
unplayable cards.
We're not
but they're
here to
great against
complain.
Roman's deck.
We're not here to complain about this. We're talking about my play style. So I will tell you that. I will tell you that the thing that
Well,
I
you brought up
like.
Roman's deck.
Well, the reason why I brought up the Romans deck was because I like having a creature on the battlefield and interaction in my hand. And like decks that can do that are like very, very exciting. And then I also just like winning on turn 3, right? So but the elves deck became like I mean, I have so many random formative experience. Like there was like one time I was like playing like the Guilds of Ravnica or Ravnica, whatever new Ravnica was draft, and there's like a 3/4 for 4 in that set. And one time I just built a deck that just cast that card on turn 4 every time, and it was like pretty good. And I was like, interesting. Like that was like my unlock of just spend your mana every turn. Like if you played a 2/3 for 3 into a 3/4 for 4, you're gonna win like a lot of games just because your opponent like casts divination into like a 3/3 that can't tussle with the 3/4, and that's called the herd.
And a 3/4 for 4. Can I introduce you to Aang and Appa?
Yeah.
Because those motherfuckers.
I don't want to. This was a different time. This is like my like, oh, if your 23rd card being a curve filler, like now that they kind of like make things like vaguely on rate, was like really exciting because in IPA draft, right, there's no curve. It's just like play Grixis colors and like make every land drop and then play, probe like with kicker, because nothing's gonna happen before turn 6. Oh, sorry, I lost your audio. It could be some headset stuff, but I'll keep talking. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Oh, I think I just accidentally hit it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, anyway, so I've been depressed about contemporary Magic in a lot of places, probably including this podcast, more than once. But I actually have to say, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender is absolutely phenomenal to play. It's very fun. And you've played limited, right? Like,
I've played some limited. Yeah. So I think it's like a cool limited format. But curving out, man, it's just like it's actually I've lost my way with limit. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about tempo.
I airbent a manland. Woo! You have not lived until you've airbent a non-earthbended manland. Because if you airbend an earthbended manland,
it just comes back. But it doesn't come back when it's.
Oh man, you hit like a restless anchorage or something. Your opponent just probably DCs right on the spot.
So
that is not how that card was intended to be played.
I think it still is a style. Like I think I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm trying to fit elves into like my like Lanny style, right? Because like I draw inspiration. I mean, like, I have to hand it to Fran. Like Fran had just kind of like this ruthless, especially getting into Premodern and for the first like year or so, like he had this like ruthless devotion to being like every single card I can cut, I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna replace it with like a banger, right? I'm gonna put like more Swords of Plowshares in my day. Like maybe I was like
poker.
I don't think so, but he might. You never know.
I feel like he makes his Magic the Gathering decks like poker optimization.
Well, it's just like tight aggressive. Like, this was like a thing that like Chapin offhandedly mentioned in Top Level podcast, where you were like, "Oh, how do you feel about like these 1-ofs?" And he's like, "I think it's good to give your opponent some loose action," which was like a really good analogy, but kind of hard to explain. But basically, like your 1-of probably makes your overall win rate worse, but it gives you the opportunity to like body slam your opponent with like the surprise daze type bullshit. So,
Patrick and I played
or misdirection, maybe.
Played some poker together recently with some kids, and he just...
You told me the story,
he folded every hand.
Until you used headset. You told the story on the podcast. You told the story on the podcast.
Okay. Even my recent stories I haven't played. Anyway, the thing I was bringing up about Fran is like, it's just like only play the good hands. I think like
only play the good cards.
Violent about like, this card sucks and no one should play it.
Yeah.
And like, the quintessential card that Fran won't play is like Dark Ritual, right?
Yeah.
This card sucks, don't play it.
Dark Ritual is loose action. Like that's a loose action card because it's either gonna like straight flush boom.
I mean,
like all ins, or it's gonna be like look, man, or it's get dominated. I don't
lose to a lot of black decks in paper Magic.
Yeah,
let's start there.
Some people are,
but like
Spanish people are.
Every single time in the mid game where they like haven't made their land drop and they're like, I guess
looking at some dark ritual. Yeah, dark ritual, a 3-drop when they have 2 lands.
No, they like ritual out like a Nantuko Shade and then put a pump into it because their other 2 lands were
no. It's not an Nantuko Shade. It's like a Withered Wretch. And then they like put the one floating, they like put it into getting your fetch land.
It's like, okay.
So The
That could have been an email.
So I think yeah, that could be, that's a good one. So yeah, and so it was like this kind of ruthless devotion to like optimize, or just like kind of like just like tearing up the floorboards, right? Just like, oh, we have a nice hardwood floor that you put this dark ritual carpet over, and if we just replace this dark ritual carpet with an exciting card like Vindicate, right? You all of a sudden get.
Let me tell you, I do not like Vindicate at all. And you know what card is basically Vindicate, but at instant speed, but insane? Aang's Iceberg.
Okay, no,
Wow.
no, stay away. Uh, uh, I took some inspiration from that, so that kind of like was whatever. But there are shortcomings, right? So like I think that the Moneyball Black deck building process. I think everyone should listen to Fool's Tome, the first episode with Ty.
He recorded that right after beating me in the top 8 of.
Yeah, there you go. Ty and Grand Fly.
Was like, and I'm even better at Elves than I was this morning. This episode.
Yeah.
So it turns out I'm an 11, not a 9.9.
But aside from both players thinking that Wither Wretch is a good card, I think it's really exciting to get into the deck building process, because I think that Grant Fly, I forget his real name, putting Dark Ritual in that deck, like he says it, he's just like, it's not like the best card, but you kind of have to match the speed of the format a little bit, right? If you go, because we've actually done this so many times. A lot of times we pick up the Fran decks and we're like, yeah, Ravenous Rats, like I am in. Meddling Mage in every deck.
But like,
these survival decks are so exciting. The learn all this Mana War, like, oh man, 2 Mana Wars. Let's go with 3 Mana Wars and 1 Mana War sideboard. Mana War is actually the deck.
Why doesn't Fran have more content? I love Fran.
He's got a life. But the flip side of that is sometimes we've picked up Fran's deck like Pitless Rack, and we're just like, damn, like. Ritual or no ritual, I still hate playing this Mono Black deck. Like SWB was like
the Smog deck.
Yeah, the Chain of Smog deck. Yeah.
Miserable.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a black deck, for all he's capable of. I think Fran still necessarily couldn't, I guess the biggest roast is that playable Dead Guy Ale, like, saw the fate that it ended up seeing, and that, it's no knock against Fran. It's like, sometimes they work. Maybe they work. Yeah, maybe they work sometimes, or they work in Fran's hand, but, like, there was a little bit of a.
To be fair, the format moved so much towards mass mana destruction after playable Dead Guy Ale, right? Although it's so weird to me that like there's just a deck with like 8 Vindicates, and that the Vindicates can only hit lands, and that still gets played, and it's just like these
are also known as Stone Rains, but yeah. So the red green Ponzo deck. I mean, this goes back to my thing I was saying. I was like, oh, is this brewing or is this iterating type thing? And it was like the red green Ponzo deck is like a great example, where it's just like.
The green white, so
the mono green deck,
white Cataclysm deck is a thing. The mono green deck is a thing, right? They're
both of them, paths. but it's the process is it's not parallel paths, because for Fran it was a structured path of like, he was like, this mono green Oath Ponza deck is really good. A lot of people forget mono green Oath Ponza. Apologies to TV Tyrant, the pioneer, he's playing Stone Rain decks in the Parfait meta, right? A lot of people forget that. Because it was like a weird meandering path to the Oath Ponza deck that we have now. But what's so different, like explorations, and he just kind of like tuned the stuff around.
There's like explorations and wild growth.
Well, there was the thicket, the double land, the depletion land that was in that. So he was playing with all sorts of stuff, and Smokestack. Hickory Woodlot and Smokestack, which I was actually super into bringing back that kind of idea into the red green Oath Ponza deck. But it was like, first, okay, what if we built this deck and instead of Stone Rain we play Cataclysm? And it's like, oh yeah, hold on, what if we played this deck instead of 2 Sylvan Libraries or some number of Miri's Guile, which was actually in the green. We have 4 Sylvan Libraries, and we just need Pyroclasm. Like, we just need Pyroblast. And then for a time, this is a deck that people basically wanted to get banned. But
who wanted to get it banned?
There was a time. I mean, it was winning everything for 6 weeks.
It was a viable deck. I agree.
You always hated it, but
it's not a bannable
There's like 6 weeks of Spy Colony episodes where I'm just like, this deck is crazy. And you're like, I don't understand. It's like 50 mana sources. And then like flash forward to 6 months later, I'm just like, every deck that's 50 mana source. Like, why do people build 50 mana source decks? Like, you could just play 20 mana sources and
are you saying you
Weather
came around to the correct position on this deck? It is a viable deck. Don't get me wrong. It shouldn't get banned.
No, you went the opposite direction. You're like, oh, well, this deck can put a turn 1 Sphere of Resistance onto the battlefield. And I'm like, trying to cut the mana sources, like you said. And you're like, no, keep all the Mox Diamonds so that you can play Sphere of Resistance on turn 1.
If you're going to play this garbage, you need to high roll. Okay, you are winning 0 matches on play skill.
That's not true. You have Oath of Druids on your deck. What's almost as good as turn 1 Oath of Druids? Turn 2 Oath of Druids.
That's how you win with this deck. First turn Sphere of Resistance. Draw exactly the correct number of lands. Always have a backup Oath of Druids against the Elves deck. You are winning 0 matches against somebody who's prepared for you. Like,
I mean, technically that's borne out to be true. This actually kind of brings me to something.
I know.
This actually brings me to something that we haven't talked about on the podcast. But which is crazy because I assume that this would be like a hot take factory. Data.duresscrew.com added date filtering to the matchup data. And from there, you start to see a different picture of like what decks are good and bad. Now, granted, if you do date filtering, you're killing a ton of data, so your confidence interval goes down. So the numbers are less powerful.
It sounds like math.
It does sound like math.
It sounds like somebody is just like at the tomb on Easter. Like, it's the third day.
One
Here
of
comes math.
I mean, it's Christmas. It's
Christmas
season, so we're allowed. But one of the interesting observations is that if you look at the all-time performance of Red Green Oath Ponza, a deck that we say is falling off because people adjusted to it. I said that every deck adapted. Red Green Oath Ponza hasn't adapted. The difference between its win rate all-time and 1 year is that it is actually improved. It's performed better in the last year on average than it did the entirety of last year and before. Super interesting. And the deck like Dreadnought, which I was pretty sure was like a super insane bananas deck the minute people started net decking the LobsterCon winning Rascalist, goes from 54.7% all time to in the last year, it goes down to 53.1. But I want to add my final vindication, which is all-time Terrageddon, 58.6. You're like, oh, 58.6 is such a high win rate. The Terrageddon deck is so broken. Oh, let's check in on how it's doing over the last year. Terrageddon is 53.9.
Dude,
it fell off.
You're literally just describing the percentage of donkeys playing the deck. So like when the deck is popular, it has a lower win rate. That's because more donkeys are playing it. That's literally just how it works.
Yeah, you have in the all-time stats, you have only Crushers playing these like tip of the knife deck, but that doesn't explain Red Green Oath Ponza, unless Red Green Oath Ponza
anymore. It was super popular because people like you were like, it's winning everything. But we were at LobsterCon in 2024. There was like Red Green Oath Ponza at every table. Okay, like it was super popular. Lots of donkeys were playing it. Now,
like SWB. Like, you just called SWB a donkey.
Yeah, but now there's nobody wants to play it anymore because the stuff like the Raska deck happened, and they're like, oh, Brian Sutton was just like, I think they have a 0% win rate in sideboarded games, right? Like that's a very low win rate. Obviously, I think things like Carpet of Flowers probably complexifies this, but then the people who are playing it are maybe only the people who are good at it or interested in it in a different way or understand.
Okay, so hear me out. Quick aside on that.
You apparently think exist.
What if we don't board out the Stone Rains and we just board in Xantid Swarm so our Stone Rains resolve and they can't gush?
Dude, man, our podcast has been going for almost 2 hours now. I don't want to start another topic. If you want, I could just play that this week.
And see what happens if you get paired.
Yeah, like I'll just do it, right?
I think it's pretty interesting.
Like I have the deck built. I could just do that, and then I'll be like, okay, this one was for science, and I don't care about my standing in the league finals, so all good.
Well, I wanted you to play Esper Bobs and just like
here's the thing about playing Esper Bobs. Esper Bobs would require me digging up a lot of cards. Actually, not really. I have most of those cards just handy.
Yeah, they're good cards.
I love the rock. I just want to play the rock.
Esper Bob's is The Rock. You're gonna feel like playing The Rock, except for sometimes you'll get across the finish line without the car exploding. You might even get across the finish line with some cards in your hand.
I loved it so much. I guess, oh my God, it was so great. I was just like destroying their 12-12, and I had like they named it what one card that would destroy a 12-12, but I had a different card that destroyed a 12-12 and a different card that destroyed a 12-12 all in my hand. So they were like pernicious deed, and I'm like, I have smother and naturalize.
Yeah. I mean, Pernicious Deed is always the correct name with Meddling Mage.
So, I know.
Can we build I want to like I
just
think
send me the Esper Bob's list. I'll make it when we get off the podcast.
It's
actually
on,
depends on it when we're.
It's in the deck picture channel on the.
There's.
It's on your Instagram. Weren't you gonna post it on Instagram?
I don't know.
I feel like I got robbed here.
I was gonna play Pauper in an hour and a half, but I was gonna go for a run. I can't do. But they changed the time on Pauper. It's at 2 instead of 4 now. So I kind of want to play Pauper. I haven't played in a long time, but I also wanted to go for a run. And I did kettlebells 2 days in a row, and I don't like doing kettlebells more than 2 days in a row. I don't want to strain my back. So
okay, these
are like complicated things for me to deal with.
That's fair. Play what you want to play at League. That's fine. I'll
play Esper Bobs. It's fine.
Well, you can also I would challenge you to play Elves and just play a number of Korean Rangers that's not 1 or 4, or you can play 1. I think you could play Cradle Control and just see how fun it is. I think if you played Cradle Control, you'd be like super hyped because it's like actually just like a really fun deck. Because the problem with Elves is sometimes you don't do anything. Like sometimes
Lanny,
you mulligan.
I love playing Magic the Gathering, and in particular, I love playing Premodern. So when you're like, I think you could play, then you finish the sentence, I think you'd be hyped. Yes, I am gushing about how much fun I'm having playing The Rock, a deck I've been decrying for 4 years. I love playing the format. I love playing all the decks. The deck I want to play is Sam's deck, but there's just no way I'll finish a round.
You should try it. I think boarding into Meddling Mage Mastercore Control like every single match is like really good. It's like,
dude, I'm just like walking
playing
through this. I actually think I could play Sam's deck at a high level of competence, and I just can't imagine finishing a round. Right? Like, it doesn't have tools that people concede to. Like when I was playing 23andMe, people would concede. Like I capsize lock them, right? Or like I have 7 cards in hand, and they know that all of them are counter spells.
Then you're probably thinking what I'm thinking is League Finals untimed rounds.
Oh, I was thinking that. But with Sam's deck, you have 7 cards in hand, and they know it's like a tithe, right? Like, oh, your 7 cards like a tithe, a Swords to Plowshares, a foil you're gonna have to free spell because of how the board is set up. Like, I know I'm probably not gonna win, but I'm not giving you this concession, right? Like, that's the difference. Someday you might get an Anurid Brushhopper out or whatever.
Nether Spirit. Nether Spirit's gonna change everything once you add it.
One Nether Spirit.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good candidate for that.
Oh no, it's fantastic. But I can't wrap my head around not playing any Armageddons. Like, you need to restrict some people's mana.
Just play 1 Armageddon. Just play it instead of the Sabo's Orb or something.
Like, I feel like Sam's right in that, like, you don't need the Armageddon to win these matchups, but you probably, like, it's like the Queedatch Chezarach. Like, you shorten the way by a lot by having.
I think you can play 1. I think you could plausibly be like, I don't have to play Sabo's Web. I can play Dust Bowl. Like, I think Dust Bowl in my Tithe deck is pretty good. And then I also think that you can play Armageddon. And like all these things are like you can play like 1 copy of. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying do it.
Like, I'm just 75% likely to win this game without Armageddon. I'm like, okay, I go up to 82% likely, but it's like meaningless to Sam because Sam 75 is good enough.
Sam does not need anything above 51.
Yeah,
like, he'll find that 1% every time.
Like, all right, I'm 75%. Your 82 is irrelevant to me. I'm like, yeah, but I did it in 20 less minutes.
That was actually the one. I have to bring this back to Elves for that. I think one of the things that would happen in these discussions is just like, oh well, why are you talking about how Sky Shroud Poacher is good against Terragon and like we already beat Terragon? And I'm like, no, listen, you can lose to Terragon, right? If they just go Ray of Revelation your first survival, Ray of Revelation your second survival, and then put a Terravor into play, you actually might lose. So you have to do something if and only if you need a button that you can press, that if they just like hit your survival of the fittest, you can go do something and still win the game with a high rate of ability. And like the simplest thing to do is put Sky Shroud Poacher in your deck, because tell me how many times this happened to you. This happens to me all the time. Turn 2, I have 3 mana. I cast Survival of the Fittest. I pass the turn. My opponent plays the land, passes to the end step. They have 2 mana untapped. I wonder what they're interested in doing at this point in time. What do you do in that situation when you don't have Sky Shroud Poacher in your deck?
Make a 9/9.
You get a Multani's Acolyte, you get a Drained Hermit, but I mean, even a Drained,
can't pay the Echo, right?
Yeah, exactly. You might not even be able to pay the front end. It's like turn 2, but like turn 2 going into turn 3, you're gonna have 4 mana. You get Sky Shroud Poacher, and what's better than one Drained Hermit is all of them. And so, you know, a thing I mentioned earlier when we had the SWB podcast, when I was talking about Esper Bobs, he was just kind of like, or maybe you asked me about Esper Bobs. You're like, what are you trying to do here, right? Like, what's the like? I feel like this is
what
just
you're trying to do.
I feel like this is just my deck, and I'm just like, look, like we're so obsessed with like mid-range control combo, like it's just a continuum of like these weird interactions and stuff, and you can just carve a path through that doesn't look like something that's easy for you to describe. I can just be like, look, I have an Elves deck. And you're like, okay, well, what do we think about an Elves deck? We think that it smashes all this mid-range, it smashes control, it gets smashed by combo, you know, sometimes it loses to Dreadnought, which is a combo deck, right? It loses Dreadnought when it's a combo deck, but beats Dreadnought when it's a like trying to be a grinding mid-range deck, right? But once you start like to unpack and get into these things, just like, okay, well, this black-green deck can naturalize survival and play engineered play. This blue-white deck can counterspell or meddling mage survival of fittest and counterspell your you know, whatever. Maybe you need hunting pack so that they can't counterspell it, right? And you start kind of dissecting these little things, and you're just kind of like, oh, well, Sky Shroud Poacher is just like win more, like whatever. I can just play Deranged Hermit.
It's like a
capability.
I mean, the ways that you can think about it are it's a 5th survival of the fittest, or it's like 5 Black Lotuses. Like there's a bunch of ways that you can think about it that are not win more. And I think it is like, I would just, if you just start with the same 60, right? And one deck has like Hunting Pack and one deck has Sky Shroud Poacher, I would just be like, the Sky Shroud Poacher deck is better built than the deck with Hunting Pack.
Well, you can play Hunting Pack in your Sky Shroud Poacher deck. That's a legal thing to do.
So I'm just saying, right? Like the Sky Shroud Poacher has so much text in games that you don't have 14 mana.
It's actually a really good. It's actually a really good point that you're making, sort of subtly in there, which is just that like, if you have a deck with Survival of the Fittest, every deck with type creature is going to be like really, really freaking good in your Survival of the Fittest deck, because one copy is 100 copies.
Instant, like
yeah. So then it asks you a question of like, what should your non-creature spells be? And that is actually the question that Cradle Control asks, or just Elves players have been asking. It's crazy to me that the only non-creature spell we've played in survival decks is Tangle Wire. Just like, you can play Swords to Plowshares in this deck. Like, one of the big issues with Elves is that like in game 1 you have nothing against Dreadnought that costs less than 5 mana or 4 mana sometimes.
3 main deck naturalized.
Well, back in the time, right? People have considered playing main deck naturalized in Elves. It's happened, right? People have played 4 main deck Nantuko Vigilante. SLBB said he should have just played Vigilante in the off the top rope instead of naturalize his main deck. But regardless, the other thing that would happen is like the Grotog Elves matchup would be like Meddling Mage survival of his cast Quirion Range or Quirion Dryad. And then afterwards, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I have a 5/5, I have an 8/8, I have a 10/10. Like, your Elves deck can't do anything about that, you know, even if you draw a Deranged Hermit a lot of the time. And, you know, your ability to cast Swords of Plowshares against Goblin War Chief, Mastercore, Quirion Dryad, Exalted Angel, like, that actually changes the texture of your deck. And I think that's something that's kind of underexplored. It's just kind of like, well, what is Elves weak against? It's like, oh, it's you know, sometimes it has some creatures it can't remove, it gets raced, or these creatures are problematic and you can't get your stuff set up because they naturalize your survival of the fittest. It's just kind of like, well, I don't know, you can play white in this deck. It's an allied color. You already want to kick your Tribal Force Mage. You know, that's what you were doing. Just like, I don't know, play some
Thornscape Battle Mage?
Yeah. Thornscape Battle.
Why did Tribal Force Mage?
Sorry, it's just they're both mages. They're both mages. They're both mages. Give me you want to kick your guy.
Elves also.
That is true. They are both elves. So
They're both
I
a terrible casting cost to power and toughness ratio. Both of them
but
are
yeah, I don't
very
know.
bad.
Elves is like super exciting because like you just like think about the capability of a deck that has access to every color mana, but like pretty good colors mana, red and white, if it wants to. It has access to like super explosive combo stuff if you want to play the like. I actually think the mana suppression thing is like the thinnest part of the deck because like when I think about it, I'm like, well, I don't like combo decks typically don't play Rishton Port, right? Or Tangle Wire. Devourer was playing Tangle Wire for a while, but like you're like Rishton Port's like not like really a combo deck card. And then like Wirewood Symbiote and Quirion Ranger are combo cards to me. Priest of Titania is a combo card, right? It wants to see a bunch of elves on the battlefield and something to sink that mana into. And putting Tangle Wire in your deck reduces the amount of that kind of stuff that you see. So Elvish Spirit Guide was kind of the the thing that Suarez was doing for that kind of random amount of time instead of Tangle Wire to just like go harder into the combo thing. And then didn't even talk about Biorhythm.
Oh man, Biorhythm is so I used to not like it at all because I had like a really sort of static idea about how pre-modern archetypes work, but it's such a great monkey wrench. Like it's just
Yeah.
such a get out of jail free card.
I mean, isn't it kind of sick? Like you were talking about the quiet spec matchups. Like what if I go elf Biorhythm? Like what if I go elf priest Biorhythm against quiet spec oath? You have to have like a source. It beats an oath, right? So you have to have a Swords of Plowshares or Volcanic Spray.
You have to have an attacker. I mean, like there's a lot of things that could go wrong.
No, you don't need it. I mean, because quiet spec oath doesn't put any creature like they're not going to activate their treetop village in response.
It is certainly a non-zero capability that you would put in. I don't know, like their ability to just like when I look at some of these decks, I'm like, what if you just played more volcanic sprays? Is like
that's true, but
so if you just played like 2 or 3 volcanic sprays, like I just can't imagine elves getting out from under this.
Well, I can imagine you just didn't draw the red source. You just like looked at your hand, no volcanic spray, and you mulligan, and you're just like, oh, I've got no gemstone mines, I've got no mox diamonds, and I have 2 volcanic sprays, and I'm just gonna lose to Biorhythm, right?
Who are you, Michael J? You just never mulligan?
Yeah. I mean, you got a mulligan again, right? But what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to 4 to like find volcanic spray. Well, then you might not find oath, and if you cast 2 sides volcanic spray, they might just Kesa you. They might just Sky Shroud Poetry you.
Yes, Lanny. There is a set of universes where the multiple volcanic spray oath deck can lose to elves. However,
you increase them when you play Biorhythm.
I would not. I would not bet on that side.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't think I actually ended up publishing this because it was only like 2 matches, but I did play a match against Quiet Spec Oath where I had the turn 3 Biorhythm and I was like so hyped to get it off. And they just like volcanic spray me without casting Quiet Speculation. And I'm just like, this seems super unfair. Like volcanic spray should be 2 UR casting costs. It shouldn't be just like 1R and then you somehow have it in the top 7
That's like
cards.
every time Oath Panza just casts Terravor, like I get mad.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I'm like playing a strategic game of Magic the Gathering, and they're just casting a 7/7 now, and I'm like, this is bullshit. They didn't do anything, right? Like we just broke fetch lands, right? Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know math is dead, but like, I'm like setting up my game. I've got him. He's like, oh, here's a 7. So I'm like, oh.
So what do you think about Biorhythm versus Hunting Pack?
I think a deck with Biorhythm is much better built than a deck with Hunting Pack.
So what if I told you that I'm trying to beat more decks with counterspells and less decks with Oath of Druids?
Then
because Hunting Pack has got to excite you in the face of counter magic, right? They're just sitting there. They're like, oh, I'm going to counter Survival of the Fittest. I'm going to counter Deranged Hermit.
Terrible against elves.
Not necessarily. You said it yourself. The Landstill deck can just like counterspell, disenchant, survival, and then it has nothing. So if you can play like, because you go counter survival, Wrath of God. Like if you're playing Sam Black's deck against elves, for example, right? Sam's Black deck is trying to be like abolish foil, survival of the fittest, and then cast Wrath of God, right? So if I'm playing against Sam Black's deck, I kind of am pretty hyped to cast Hunting Pack at any point. It is a little tricky to get Storm on your opponent's turn when you're playing against Sam Black's deck, but like I have a vision at least.
Yeah, like 2 4/4s is enough.
I mean, yeah, if he casts one spell, I mean,
don't need to,
he's not gonna, but
if
he tides, if you get like Sam is like, oh, I finally put it together. Skorak Mox Tithe. And you're like, hunting pack, baby.
Just like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah. And stuff. Well, that's where Wrath of God is the bailout. So you do need to have the 20 damage and beast. But anyways, I can imagine, right? I imagine
You
that.
can get him pretty good. Your deck has anger.
Yeah. That's true. Oh, well, I mean, I guess if they counterspell Disenchanted Survival of the Fittest, you probably didn't anger.
Dude, I'm the deck with all the mana acceleration and they're doing all the cool stuff. Right? Come on. You can't have it all the ways.
That's fair.
And I still have the mana to cast Hunting Pack.
Yeah. I mean, that's maybe they plowshared Priest of Titania, but they can't plowshare Gaia's Cradle. So
they can't do everything.
Exactly.
That's what
I didn't even talk about Solitary Confinement. You're struggling with a burn matchup. What happens if you put Solitary Confinement in your deck?
In which deck?
In Elves.
It doesn't stop you from getting gear 2'd. That's the real
doesn't
problem.
matter. They can't answer Solitary Confinement.
Oh, but you just kill them with their own Sulfuric Vortex.
You just don't do anything. You just go turn 2 Survival, turn 3 Solitary Confinement. You win. They can't beat a Solitary Confinement. They're not boarding in Anarchy against you. They're not boarding in... I mean, if they have Phyrexian Furnace, I guess they're going to get it. But here's the thing about Phyrexian Furnace.
You can get right now.
You can get Squee. You can get Squee.
Solitary Confinements into my cart because I only own one.
Yeah. You can get Squee and Genesis. Like this was the thing.
I understand how this works.
Like
when you said the sentence, I'm like, oh, okay.
I guess what happens after you get Genesis? You get your Solitary. I mean, you have infinite time, right? But here's some fun things. You get Genesis, and then you get Crozen Tusker. And then you really are not locked under your Solitary. Not that you're ever going to lose to burn, right? But you can imagine that you're playing Solitary in a deck that maybe has one Chain of Vapor, one Boomerang type decks, some Brain Freeze type decks. Solitary Confinement looks kind of good there too. And those are decks that are good against Elves.
Lanny, I said we're ending the podcast. I need to go put things in my cart.
Put Solitary Confinement in your cart. I think I have new border ones.
Excuse me. I'm using my computer to record a podcast right now. I have things to do.
All right. Final question. I mean, are you feeling what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like this. I feel like Elves has so much potential. Like, are you feeling this? I feel like electricity.
I love Elves. I told you, I have a binary thought process. Am I going to play against Oath? If the answer is yes, I just
no. I'm asking you to break out of that. I'm just being like, what deck do you feel
I have
has
more
the most
than 20 decks built?
Right, but
I don't have to break out.
Mike, you gotta brew. What deck has potential? What decks are we just? You gotta. You're gonna own it. You're gonna start a company. You gotta start thinking like a disruptor. When are you gonna zag when everyone else is zigging? Like, which deck is ripe for disruption? I think that Elves is the most disruptible deck. Right. I'm like sitting here. I'm looking at Elves. I'm just like, Korean Ranger has 95% market share. You don't think I can tap into that? Like, come on. Like,
Lanny, send me the link. I'm in love with this podcast. It has transformed how you think, and maybe it will make me a better business person.
Exactly. All right. Shout outs. LobsterCon registration is on the 14th. Off the Top Rope has been officially announced, I believe, for a date in January. I'm going to pull that up right now. Off the humbug. Sorry.
I'm like, off the top rope?
Already, yeah, off the top rope too. I mean,
that's a format that you cannot play more than once a year.
Yeah.
Okay, like
yeah. Or else
like
we're gonna hate it.
Oh, it was great. Let's talk about it. Twice a year, like, what the fuck was this stupid?
SWB was like, it kind of reminds me of old school, and you're like, I can't even look at this for more than one event and one podcast.
And I don't want to play for the 364 days in between.
Big Apple Highlander. It is the Highlander format with no banned lists except for the anti-cards, 60 card singleton, 15 card sideboards. This is happening in New York City at Hex & Company West on January 31st. It typically coincides with a webcam league that Phil is also going to run through Discord. I don't know for certain if that's going to happen this year, but I certainly think that it's a likelihood. So get cooking. This is going to be a proxy-friendly event. Nobody wants to buy Tolarian Academy and Yawgmoth's Will. Last year, I won the webcam event. Levine won the The main event with Mono Red, I played Storm. Still tons and tons of brewing potential.
What was the most important innovation in your Storm deck? Was it adding
Tainted Pact. It
Tainted
has
Pact?
to be.
Yes.
I would have to say it's adding Tainted Pact.
Yeah, because some people brew. Some people
some
are
people brew.
geniuses who brew.
I
They
would
look at
say-
it and they say, "What if we added one Tainted Pact to this deck?"
I would like dunk on you,
It
and I
is
would
a
like,
singleton
I would
format.
like write you off. I would be like, Mike, you did not make my deck that much better by adding Tainted Pact, but I actually won
Except-
so many games with that Tainted Pact. It was like unreal how good Tainted Pact was in my deck. So I can't even lie. Like I cast it
what
like
if we added
5
a
times in
Sand-Covered Island?
5 matches.
Ooh, this deck might be a little bit better.
All right. Well, let's bring that energy to Elves or whatever deck you're bringing at home. Take a look at the market. There's definitely some room for exploitation. Give some loose action. Play some tight aggressive. Do whatever. You can also just play Premodern.
Basically, just take the rock and add Ravenous
Add
Rats.
Ravenous Rats to the rock. Cut stupid Phyrexian Rager. Eagle-eyed listeners will remember that immediately upon realizing that Call of the Herd was a card, I was like pretty off the Phyrexian Rager train.
Wait a minute, man. I was just trying to brew the rock for Bah Humbug, and I'm like thinking like, oh, I could play Ravenous Rats and Phyrexian Rager and Crows and Tusker, and then I'm like, Yawgmoth's bargain is legal? Why? What am I thinking? Like,
well,
what are
you
the
can
percentage of games
Yawgmoth's
you lose?
bargain into one
Yawgmoth's
copy
bargain
of.
play.
You can Yawgmoth's bargain into one copy of Ravenous Baloth. But yeah, my Storm deck bargain was really good in my deck.
No, thank you. Well, I
Yeah.
went like 4-2. I didn't even do that bad playing your Storm deck, but it wasn't good enough.
Fair enough. Okay. Shout out to
I
Mario's.
beat Wyatt in the last round. That was probably the last time I did that.
I will point out that Mario has the Soda Bread shop on East 7th Street, if you're ever in that neighborhood. Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to noon. She's making all the soda bread. The pub is open at 32 Avenue A.
So I have been to the pub many times. So Rich Busey and I will go there after league sometimes to just hang out with Pog.
Oh, shout out to Rich Busey. Check out his Substack. I think you can find it in the content tab of the main Premodern Discord. If you're in the New York Discord, he shares it there. Other than that, he's sort of on Discord. I think he might have tweeted and we retweeted. So check out his sort of design-oriented Substack. Just kind of
Very
talking
good.
talking about Magic cards. Lots
The
of
game
fun
designer.
stuff. Shout out to the Bougie Discord and all our fans on Coffee. I did we did actually turn Sam Black from a proletarian hero to a bougie Discorder.
You just like put him into the Discord. Like you're not supposed to do that. You're just like
told me.
You just took out a sword and waved it on one shoulder and put it on the other shoulder, and you're like, "You're knighted, bro."
Sam Black has provided $5 a month worth of value. Okay, so here's actually the full story. Sam messages me and he's like, "Are you still doing the brew bounty?" Because I won the tournament, right? And I was just like, the brew bounty ended at LobsterCon, but how about the podcast appearance bounty? So we kind of worked it out that way, and it included Discord access as part of that. But shout out to the real homies who have opened their wallets and their hearts into the Bougie Discord.
People like Charles.
We could do it without. Well, okay, so Charles is actually in because of Unglued Lands. He's not a regular subscriber. You just
people like
Charles, Rich, and Bryce are in. Yeah, Noah. Let's shout out. I guess we should do the shout outs. Now that we're naming people who don't actually monthly get in, that make brew bounties possible, that make the Spike Colony podcast possible, we should shout out the people who are more regular contributors in that way. That, of course, includes Shroom, Alex KJ, Kripios or Roger Michaelides, K-Run, Andy Levine, Dana Meza Madrigal, Drew Wood, Oscar S, Manny Moutinho, shout out. He also comments on Spotify. You are allowed to comment on Spotify. That's kind of fun for me to read. It's hard to interact, but whatever. Cody MTG, new subscriber, I believe a big sort of brewer and kind of has like a spice Discord that he's running, so you can reach out to him for that. Sunny, of course, for a very long time, basically since the beginning. Slow King, of course. Esper, the originator of Esper Bobs. JP, Graham V, IB True, who jumped in. Tom, Slow King. That's Bryson.
No, I'm saying Slow King is the originator of Esper Bobs, right? Because
Yeah.
I remember Andy Levine played a version of Esper Bobs at League like last year, and I'm like, oh, what are you playing tonight? Andy's like Slow King.
Yeah,
He
he's
just
playing
said
Slow
Slow
King.
King.
That's
Playing
actually a
Slow
good name for the deck. I should. Okay, I love Esper Bobs. I've become infatuated with Esper Bobs, but I think you could just call it Slow King, and that's kind of awesome. Tom Telski, of course. Shout out to the homie. Phil Q, also since the early days.
Phil Q.
Trading on Tilt. Ron Gregory, Korean gamer, also relatively recent. Shout out to I don't know how to pronounce Yele Lansdal or something. I think it's like a. Gosh, he even told me where it's from, and I don't remember.
Dude, we met him IRL.
Yeah, we met him. He came to Sacred Torch. Jake Speed, Score Data, DEL, of course. Waldo Jeffers, Greg T802, Comrade Ope, SWB, Icorn, Mike
in the Discord. I'm like, I didn't know they were in the Discord.
Well, if you're listening to this and you're like wondering about the Discord, you have to connect your coffee to Discord or just message me and I'll work it out. Mike Arnold, he's running no ban list Premodern webcam right now, so that's going to be pretty interesting if people wanted to check that out. Luis Neiman, of course, Trash Dog Adam, of course, Duress Crew. This is an outgoing. I pay Duress Crew for Duress Crew Premium, and in exchange they give me premium access to all the Duress Cord perks. Don't ask me because I'm not going to tell. That City in Texas, Dr. Manabase, Oliver of BTS, Goose, Juddermang, Rich Busey, who we mentioned before, Matt P, OG, Ryan Marvin,
You're
Fire
just naming
Exhale
all
Online,
the people who go to League.
Island Home, shout out Brandon, who maintains a lot of the Dress Crew sort of nuts and bolts type stuff, and I'll probably be looking to try to have him on so we can chat about poker. Thank you all. Thank you.
Is Dr. Aska in this? No.
No,
I want to shout him out. You should just put him in if you're going to put Sam in.
I'm not putting people in. Okay, technically he did win a tournament, or no, he didn't. Well, he did when he won in Rochester.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Raska doesn't brew enough. He doesn't win enough tournaments. Like I was okay. 12:47 p.m. on November the 29th in the year of our Lord 2025. Lanny Huang said that Dr. Surf and Surf doesn't brew enough or win enough pre-modern tournaments.
I actually
the Sam Black exception.
Is the Brew Bounty Discord access if you win a pre-modern tournament with a quote unquote brew? I was just going to
shout out Dr. Eska, and the reason is I transformed as a result of OG Rich Shea to being someone who said, well, there's a ceiling on how much value you could get out of a crushed chickpea to eating 75% of my diet being hummus now. And Raska texts me one day and he's just like, you can't eat the caramelized onion one. There's so much sugar.
Yeah. There is a lot of sugar from
he's
caramelized
just
onion.
You're ruining the whole point. And I'm
it is in the name.
Oh, I didn't even think about this.
Chickpeas are a good source of protein. I do not want to be around your farts, but it sounds like you're having a good time with it. And if you do not
be around my farts, we're having dinner tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. And if you're not a bougie Discord member, we still love you. Thank you for listening to the Spy Colony podcast.
But you're not invited to dinner.
You're not invited to hear what various people have to shout into the void channel of our Discord, which gets pretty spicy sometimes, so that's fun. What was the last thing? It was I haven't been playing a lot of Premodern, but I've still been having fun recording Spy Colony, so thank you, Mike, because
I really liked the first part of our podcast today. It was super fun for me. I hope people liked it till the point that we got to Premodern.
Oh yeah. Give us some feedback. I think we can do this where I look at Michael J's old decks and I try to understand why there's only 4 untapped green sources on turn 1, and for Mike to explain it's just how we did things back then.
It's just a free roll, brother. Sometimes you get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. On the phone, On the phone, I was like, so you're just saying turn 2 Noble Hierarch is still pretty good? And it's just like,
Dude, but
yeah.
look at the decks. It's not like you weren't like playing against like a second turn, uh, like a Kiki Jiki saga, right?
Do you
Like,
do you play stuff on turn 1 in contemporary modern now, or contemporary standard right now? Are there like good turn 1 plays?
do I? I play
No,
like
no,
a
like in the
archive.
metagame, are there good
Yes.
turn 1 plays?
So I think the best deck that's not Roman's deck plays a Llanowar Elf, a Pollinator, or a Spyglass Siren on turn 1 oftentimes.
Yeah.
And then you haven't seen this deck, the Druith deck. It's so
Probably on Twitter or something.
it's based around a 1/1 for 2. It's UG for a 1/1, and then if you play a card that's equal to its power. So like if it comes out as a 1/1, if you play like a Llanowar Elf or a Spyglass Siren, it both increases in power and makes a clone of that card. So if like on turn 1, let's say
It
you're
has
like turn 1 Elf.
evolve. It has evolve and it copies.
Yeah, so it's like, so if you go turn 1 Llanowar Elf, turn 2 play a second land, play this guy, tap your other mana for like a Pollinator, then you now have a 2/2 and 2 Pollinators, which is quite powerful for 2 mana, right? Then in the next turn you play like a Flood Pit's Drowner, it becomes a 3/3, locks down 2 of their creatures and becomes bigger. Then you play like an Ouroboros, make double Ouroboros. Like I said, it takes 3 to 5 minutes to win a game with this deck.
Fair enough. My main point was like, I guess we forget that we just didn't play spells on turn 1 very often in the standard portion of much of Magic's history. For instance,
right now we do.
There's not like a mono red deck in 2009 standard metagame. There's Boros, I guess. There's the Bushwhacker deck you were saying.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, I guess they had Goblin Guide.
They had Goblin Guide. They had Savannah Lands. They had Elite Vanguard. Savannah Lands, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, no, I actually wanted to do that segment. I think it's actually really fun to look at old decks, especially talk to the designer of that old deck, and get a little insight into the thought process. Because yeah, I did really want to dunk on you. You're just like, there's 12 sideboard cards against Jund here. It's like, how do we beat Jund? It's like, well, we just sideboarded 12 cards and they sideboarded 0 cards. Bring that to your next pre-modern tournament.
If you look at the scoreboard, you'll see that they won 0 games in the top 8. So,
no,
Jund, a tough match.
Jund was in the finals, right? So there you go.
No, against Andres.
Oh, against Andres. Yeah, of course. Yeah, there you go.
He 3-0'd 2 Jund decks, and then he went to 5 against the Boros deck because the Boros deck had a very novel sideboard strategy that we didn't anticipate, but Andre figured it out on the spot.
Right, it was the Baneslayer. This was the Baneslayer Angel thing you were talking about, which is pretty cool.
Before open deck lists and stuff.
Yeah. So. Shout out to Braum Snapfingers. Well, you had open deck lists in the top 8, did you not? Because these decks were on coverage.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, I gave Andre a very bad sideboard strategy.
There's mana barbs in here. Did he bring in mana barbs?
I don't remember.
That's so cool. Sideboard and mana barbs.
Well, he became a mid-range deck, so I think he made his deck from fast to mid-range. So like they were basically the same top end, like had the Exile and
Baneslayers, yeah.
But like Andre's deck had the advantage because he
brings in this is actually sick. Braum brings in 2 O-Ring, 2 Journey to Nowhere. So he's like actually just like exile your Woolly Factor
into the rock. Yeah.
All right, awesome.
So anyway, my strategy was just make your deck fast and run him over, right? Like afterwards we talked about it, Andre's
just pivoted,
Yeah, like his sideboard strategy.
He also has Ranger of Eos. Man, this is so cool.
Yes, he was just our deck.
Yeah, we always talk about trying to like flashback and play these decks. I wish there was like a faster way to print Magic the Gathering deck besides like, obviously cutting proxies and pasting them or sticking them in sleeves of like backs of Magic cards. But one day we'll unlock that
really
technology.
Cheap to just buy these decks, right? Like my Baneslayer Angels were $55. And
this deck is $340 on TCG Player, but it also has 8 fetches. Yeah, it has 8 fetches, but $178, and you can relive Naya Lightsaber. Well, I guess that's a love, Spy Colony.
Love, Mike.
Cheers to happy Thanksgiving to Americans. And we are still trying to record as often as humanly possible given our schedule. But yeah, like I said, I'm editing the Cheeky Pint podcast almost full time.
Dude, I am so happy for you. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Rich people are crazy, but you know this because you ate a Cocodoke. Love Spike.
I I didn't pay.
Game over.